Hello guys, welcome to Fictional Vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto was the Phoenix Force host in the X-Men universe. Naruto x Jean Grey x Rogue, Marvel. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, Stranger in a Strange Land. The first thing Naruto noticed was the smell, weird, sharp, nothing like the familiar sense of Konoha. His eyes snapped open to unfamiliar surroundings, tall trees, but not like the massive ones from the Forest of Death. These were thinner, packed closer together. Somewhere nearby, he heard a constant rushing sound, not water, something mechanical and continuous. "What the hell?" he mumbled, pushing himself up from damp leaves. His head throbbed with each heartbeat, memories slipping through his fingers like water. Sakura. Kakashi-sensei. His voice echoed through empty woods. Standing shakily, Naruto patted himself down. Orange and black jacket, check. Kunai pouch, check. Headband, he touched his forehead. Still there. But something felt off, an unfamiliar warmth cycling through his chakra network alongside Kurama's familiar energy. "Hey, Fox, you there?" Naruto closed his eyes, trying to connect with the Ninetales. Silence. Not even the usual grumble or insult. Great. Just great. Naruto oriented himself toward the mechanical sounds and started walking. The forest gave way to a park, which opened onto the most bizarre sight he'd ever encountered, taller than any building in Konoha, structures of glass and steel stretched impossibly high into the sky. Metal contraptions rushed along black pathways, carrying people inside them. "This can't be the land of fire," he whispered. "Maybe not even the elemental nations." People bustled past him on the sidewalk, some giving his bright orange outfit curious glances but most ignoring him. Their clothes were strange, no flak jackets, no weapon pouches, no headbands. A digital billboard flashed overhead, "Welcome to New York City." New York? Naruto repeated, drawing more stairs. Never heard of it. He wandered further into the concrete jungle, taking in the sights and sounds. His stomach growled. "Man, I'd kill for some Ichiraka ramen right about now." Turning a corner, he spotted a food cart. The vendor, a middle-aged man with a thick mustache, looked up as Naruto approached. "Whatcha want, kid?" "Hot dogs, pretzels, I got it all." Naruto squinted at the unfamiliar foods. Do you take Rio?" "Take what now?" Naruto pulled out his frog wallet, extracting several coins. The vendor frowned. "That ain't money I can use." "Beat it if you're not buying." "But I'm starving." Naruto protested. "Look, I don't know where I am, and I said beat it." The vendor's face reddened. "I got paying customers waiting." Frustration flared inside Naruto. With it came that strange warm sensation again, bubbling through his chakra network. His fingertips tingled. "Fine. Your food probably sucks anyway." He turned to leave, but the warmth in his chest suddenly flared hot, too hot. Energy surged through him, different from chakra but somehow familiar, like an echo of something he'd felt before. "What's happening?" he gasped as flames, actual flames, erupted around his hands. But these weren't ordinary flames, they had a strange, almost avian quality, flickering in shapes that resembled feathers and wings. People screamed. The vendor abandoned his cart. Cars screeched to a halt. "Shit, shit, shit." Naruto shook his hands frantically, but the flames only grew, spreading up his arms. They didn't burn him, but the power behind them felt unstable, wild. "I can't control it." Panic rose. With panic came more flames. They spiraled around him, forming what looked like the silhouette of a bird. The concrete beneath his feet cracked from the heat. "Everyone get back!" Naruto shouted, genuinely afraid he might hurt someone. He'd never experienced anything like this, not even Kurama's chakra. Felt this volatile. Distant sirens wailed. People fled in all directions. In his confusion, Naruto barely noticed the approaching figures until they were right in front of him, a group of oddly dressed individuals moving with purpose through the chaos. A red-haired woman stepped forward, her green eyes widening as she took in the fiery display around him. "It can't be," she whispered, just loud enough for Naruto to hear. "Who are you people?" Naruto demanded, struggling to contain the energy still pouring out of him. "What's happening to me?" A tall, white-haired woman with dark skin floated, toward him, her eyes turning cloudy white. "Calm yourself, young one. We are not here to harm you." "Easy for you to say." Naruto shot back. "You're not the one on fire." Another woman hung back, younger than the others, with brown hair streaked white at the front. She wore gloves despite the warm day and kept her distance, watching him with equal parts fascination and caution. A man in a leather jacket extended his hand, metal claws suddenly extending from his knuckles. "If he can't get it under control, Genie, we might need to do this the hard way." "No, Logan," the redhead, Genie, responded. "I can feel it. It's the Phoenix, but different. Mixed with something else." "Phoenix?" Naruto had no idea what they were talking about, but the flames seemed to respond to the word, flaring higher. "Look," Naruto said, "I don't know who you are or what this Phoenix thing is, but I need help before I burn down this whole city." The redhead stepped closer despite the heat. "Focus on my voice. The Phoenix responds to emotion. Your fear is feeding it. Not helping." But Naruto tried anyway, drawing on years of chakra control training. He closed his eyes, centered himself, imagined containing the energy the way he'd learned to contain Kurama's. The flames flickered, dimming slightly. "That's it," the woman encouraged. "Picture the energy returning to its source within you." Naruto thought of the seal on his stomach, the container that held the nine tails. He imagined a similar container for this strange new power, visualized it settling back inside him like water into a jar. The flames receded, pulling back into his body. The relief was immediate. "Nice job, kid," said the clawed man, though his claws remained extended. "Now, want to explain what a Phoenix host is doing in the middle of Manhattan?" "Phoenix host? Manhattan? Look, I have no idea what you're talking about. One minute I was in the elemental nations, next thing I know, I wake up here." The redhead and the floating woman exchanged glances. "I'm Jean Grey," the redhead said. "This is Aurora Monroe, also called Storm. The friendly one with the claws is Logan, or Wolverine. And behind us is Rogue." The girl with the white-streaked hair nodded but maintained her distance. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki, shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village," he replied automatically. "And I have absolutely no clue what just happened with the fire thing." Jean's expression softened. "We're part of the X-Men, a team of mutants mutants?" Naruto interrupted. "People born with genetic gifts," Storm explained. "Special abilities. Like Kekkei Genkai? Bloodline limits?" The X-Men looked confused. "You could say that," Jean answered carefully. "The energy signature we detected from you, it's familiar to me. Very familiar. But I don't understand how you have it." Before Naruto could respond, that strange warmth flared again, more intensely this time. Pain shot through his skull, bringing him to his knees. "Something's wrong," he gasped. "It's like there's two different energies fighting inside me." Jean knelt beside him, her hands hovering near his temples. "May I? I'm a telepath. I might be able to help." Naruto nodded, desperate for relief. Jean's fingers lightly touched his forehead. Her eyes widened immediately. "There's something else in there with the Phoenix. Another consciousness, massive and ancient." Naruto managed a pained smile. That'd be the nine-tailed fox. We're roommates. The what? Logan growled. Kurama. Demon fox. Long story. Pain spiked again, and Naruto groaned. Usually we get along these days, but I can't reach him right now. The fiery energy surged again, this time accompanied by visible red chakra, Kurama's power responding defensively. The combination sent cracks spreading across the pavement beneath him. We need to get him back to the mansion, Jean said urgently. Professor Xavier needs to see this. If he loses control on the Blackbird, Logan started. I can handle it, Jean insisted, a strange echo in her voice that made everyone, even Logan, step back. I know the Phoenix better than anyone. Naruto felt consciousness slipping. The last thing he saw was Rogue stepping forward hesitantly, removing a glove as she reached for him. Wait, Jean warned. Your absorption, but Rogue had already placed her bare hand on Naruto's arm, bracing for the familiar pull of her powers. Her eyes widened in shock. Nothing's happening, she said, wonder in her voice. I can touch him. Then darkness took Naruto completely. Voices penetrated the darkness, pulling Naruto back to consciousness. Unprecedented combination of energies. Chakra systems unlike anything in our databases. Phoenix chose him specifically. Need to tell the professor. He opened his eyes to find himself in what looked like a high-tech medical bay. Monitors beeped steadily around him. Through a large window, he could see lush grounds and a massive mansion. He's awake, came a gentle voice. The blue-furred creature speaking was definitely not human, yet he wore glasses and a lab coat. How are you feeling, young man? Naruto bolted upright. What the hell are you? Hank McCoy, or Beast if you prefer. I'm the resident doctor and scientist. He adjusted his glasses. And you've caused quite a stir, Mr. Uzumaki. Jean Grey entered the room, followed by a bald man in a wheelchair. His presence commanded attention despite his physical limitations. Naruto, this is Professor Charles Xavier, Jean introduced. He runs this school for gifted youngsters, mutants learning to control their abilities. Xavier wheeled closer. Welcome to the Xavier Institute. I understand you've had quite an ordeal. That's putting it mildly, Naruto replied, sitting up fully. Where exactly am I? And what's this Phoenix thing everyone keeps talking about? Xavier and Jean exchanged glances. The Phoenix Force is a cosmic entity of immense power, Xavier explained. It represents life, death, and rebirth. Typically, it bonds with Jean, but somehow it seems to have chosen you as its host. Great. Another powerful entity decided to shack up inside me. Naruto patted his stomach. At least I've got experience with unwanted tenants. You mentioned a nine-tailed fox, Jean said. Can you explain? Naruto gave them the abbreviated version, the attack on Konoha, the ceiling, his lifelong connection with Kurama, and their eventual partnership. Fascinating, Beast murmured. A chakra-based entity sealed within your body since infancy. That might explain why your system can handle the Phoenix Force without combusting. Combusting? Naruto exclaimed. The Phoenix is typically too powerful for most hosts to contain for long, Xavier explained gently. But your body's adaptation to containing another powerful entity may have created a unique situation. Naruto closed his eyes, trying again to reach Kurama. This time, he felt a faint rumble of acknowledgement. Kurama's still there, but it's like he's muffled somehow. Like something's interfering with our connection. The Phoenix might be disrupting it, Jean suggested. When I was joined with the Phoenix, it sometimes overwhelmed my own consciousness. Naruto swung his legs over the side of the bed. So how do I get back home? I can't stay in this New York place forever. The awkward silence that followed told him everything. You don't know how to send me back, do you? We don't even understand how you got here, Beast admitted. Interdimensional. Travel isn't unprecedented in our experience, but without knowing the mechanism that brought you here. Great, Naruto muttered. Stuck in a weird world with a cosmic firebird trying to barbecue me from the inside out. Just perfect. The door opened, and Rogue entered hesitantly. She'd changed into casual clothes, jeans and a long-sleeved green top, still wearing gloves despite being indoors. "Hank, the others are waiting in the war room," she said, her southern accent noticeable. Her eyes flickered to Naruto. "How are you feeling?" "Been better," Naruto replied honestly. "Thanks for asking, Rogue, right?" She nodded. "Just checking on you before the meeting." "Meeting?" Naruto looked at Xavier. "To discuss our next steps," the professor explained. "If you're feeling up to it, your presence would be valuable." "Yeah, I'll come." Naruto stood, stretching. "By the way, what happened when you touched me?" he asked Rogue. Everyone seemed surprised. Rogue's expression became guarded. "My mutation absorbs life force, memories, and abilities from anyone I touch. It usually puts people in comas if I touch them too long. But it didn't work on me." "No." A mix of confusion and wonder crossed her face. "First time that's ever happened." "Must be the chakra," Beast theorized. "Your energy system appears fundamentally different from ours." "Lucky me," Naruto said with a grin. "At least someone here can't accidentally kill me." Rogue didn't smile back. Instead, she turned quickly and left the room. "Did I say something wrong?" Naruto asked, genuinely confused. Jean sighed. Rogue's powers have isolated her for years. Being unable to touch anyone without hurting them, it's been difficult. "Oh." Naruto felt like an insensitive jerk. "I didn't mean to make light of it." "She'll be all right," Xavier assured him. "Now, shall we join the others? There's much to discuss." The war room looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, far more advanced than anything in Konoha. A large round table dominated the center, surrounded by screens displaying data Naruto couldn't begin to understand. Storm, Logan, and several X-Men Naruto hadn't met yet were already seated. Rogue sat slightly apart from the others, not meeting his eyes when he entered. "Everyone, this is Naruto Uzumaki," Xavier began as they took their seats. "As you've likely heard, he possesses the Phoenix Force, though under unusual circumstances." A man wearing a strange visor with a red lens leaned forward. "How is that possible? I thought Jean was the Phoenix's chosen host." "I was, Scott," Jean replied. "But something's changed. The Phoenix has bonded with Naruto's existing energy system, one already containing another powerful entity. 2 cosmic-level entities in one body?" asked a young woman who appeared to be completely covered in ice. "Is that even stable?" "That's what we need to determine," Beast replied. "Preliminary scans show his chakra network, similar to but distinct from our nervous system, is acting as a buffer between the Phoenix Force and the Ninetales entity." "Ninetales?" asked the man with the visor. "Giant demon fox trapped inside me since I was a baby," Naruto explained casually. "We're on better terms these days." The stunned silence that followed almost made him laugh. "Look, I get this is weird for you all, but it's pretty weird for me too. One minute I'm in my world, next thing I know I'm here with fire powers I don't understand. The question remains," Xavier continued, "why the Phoenix chose you, and why now?" Jean leaned forward. "I've been sensing disturbances in the Phoenix Force for weeks. Almost like it was searching for something. Or someone," Storm added. "Great, so a cosmic entity went dimension shopping and decided I'd make a nice new home." Naruto crossed his arms. "Any idea how I control this thing? Because random fire outbursts aren't going to help anyone." "I can help with that," Jean offered. "I've had the most experience with the Phoenix. We can start training immediately." "There's another concern," the visored man, Scott, interjected. If word gets out that the Phoenix has a new host, especially one without established control, every power-hungry organization on the planet will be after him, Logan finished grimly. Weapon X, Hydra, hell, even S.H.I.E.L.D. might decide he's too dangerous to leave alone. Not to mention the Hellfire Club, Rogue added quietly. Emma Frost has always been obsessed with the Phoenix. Naruto looked around the table. I'm guessing these aren't friendly neighborhood social clubs. Far from it, Xavier replied. Which is why you must remain here, where we can protect you while you learn to control these new abilities. And help me find a way home, Naruto added firmly. Of course, Xavier agreed, though Naruto detected hesitation. But first, control must be your priority. Fine. When do we start? Immediately, Jean said. But you'll need rest between sessions. The Phoenix draws on life force as much as any other energy. I heal fast, Naruto assured her. Perks of the Fox. Logan snorted. Join the club, kid. Xavier turned to the group. Jean will handle Phoenix training. Hank, continue monitoring his physical condition. Logan, perimeter security needs strengthening. Scott, prep the danger room for specialized sessions. What about me? Rogue asked unexpectedly. Everyone turned to her, surprise evident on several faces. I mean, she continued, less certainly, I'm the only one who can touch him without risk. Might be useful if he loses control. Jean considered this. She's right. If the Phoenix flares, Rogue might be our safest option to make physical contact. Very well, Xavier agreed. Rogue will assist with training sessions and, he added with a knowing glance between them, help our guest acclimate to our world. Naruto caught Rogue's eye and offered a small smile. This time, she returned it, albeit hesitantly. Meeting adjourned, Xavier announced. Jean, perhaps you could show Naruto to his quarters. As they filed out, Beast caught Naruto's arm. One more thing, those readings we took showed something concerning. The Phoenix and the Ninetales energies are fluctuating, sometimes synchronizing, sometimes opposing each other. What does that mean? It means your body is the battleground for two immensely powerful forces, Beast explained gravely. And we have no way of knowing which will ultimately dominate. Naruto absorbed this. They'll have to learn to share then. I've spent my whole life dealing with Kurama. I can handle one more roommate. Beast didn't look convinced, but nodded. Let's hope you're right. The room they gave Naruto was nicer than his apartment back home, spacious, with a large window overlooking the grounds. Jean had explained the basics of modern conveniences, electric lights, indoor plumbing, central heating, before leaving him to rest. But rest wasn't coming easily. Naruto sat cross-legged on the bed, eyes closed, diving into his mindscape to find Kurama. The familiar sewer landscape had changed. Fiery light illuminated the passages, and where Kurama's cage had once stood, now there was a strange hybrid space, part cage, part swirling cosmic energy. Kurama? Naruto called. A massive red eye opened within the cage. Kit. Something's wrong. Yeah, no kidding. We're in another dimension, and I've got some cosmic firebird trying to timeshare with you. This Phoenix, Kurama growled. It's ancient. Powerful. Different from chakra but similar to natural energy. Can you sense what it wants? Rebirth. Destruction. Creation. Its nature is cyclical, like the seasons but on a cosmic scale. Kurama shifted, his massive form partially obscured by swirling flames. It was drawn to us. To us. Why? Because we are already two beings in one vessel. It sensed the stability of our bond and sought it out. That matched what the X-Men had theorized. Can we control it? Perhaps. But it's disrupting our connection. I can't lend you chakra as easily while it's active. Kurama's eye narrowed. Be careful, Naruto. This entity is older than even the Sage of Six Paths. Its power rivals that of the Ten Tails. Great, Naruto muttered. Just what I needed. Another godlike being to deal with. A knock at the door pulled him from his mindscape. Opening his eyes, he called, "Come in." Rogue stood in the doorway, now dressed in workout clothes, a long-sleeved athletic shirt and track pants. She still wore gloves. "Jean asked me to get you for your first training session," she explained. "Already? I just got here. The sooner you learn control, the safer everyone will be." She paused. "Were you meditating? Talking to Kurama, the fox?" Naruto stood and stretched. "He says the Phoenix was drawn to us because we're already a package deal." Rogue nodded, taking this in stride. "Must be strange, sharing your body with another consciousness." "You get used to it," Naruto replied with a shrug. "Though adding a third party is definitely complicating things." An awkward silence fell between them. "Look," Naruto finally said, "I'm sorry about what I said earlier. About being lucky you can't hurt me. That was insensitive." Rogue looked surprised, then her expression softened. "It's fine. You didn't know. Still. I know what it's like to be isolated because of something inside you that you didn't ask for." Understanding passed between them. "We should go," she said after a moment. "Jean's waiting in the danger room." "Danger room? Sounds pleasant." A small smile quirked Rogue's lips. "It's not as bad as it sounds. Usually." As they walked through the mansion's halls, Naruto tried to process everything that had happened in the last 24 hours. Dimensional displacement, cosmic entities, superpowered humans, it was a lot to take in. "So what's your real name?" he asked Rogue. "Everyone else seems to go by theirs, but they just call you Rogue." She hesitated. "Anna Marie. But I haven't used it in a long time." "Anna Marie," he repeated. "It's nice." "Just Rogue is fine," she insisted, but without much conviction. They reached an elevator, which descended deep beneath the mansion. When the doors opened, they were in a sleek, metallic corridor. "The sublevels," Rogue explained. "Training facilities, labs, Cerebro, all the serious X-Men equipment." "You guys are way more organized than Shinobi," Naruto observed. "We just have training grounds and the occasional secret underground base built by rogue ninja." That earned him another small smile. They reached a massive circular door with an X emblazoned on it. It slid open to reveal an enormous empty room with metallic walls. Jean stood in the center, wearing a sleek black uniform with green accents. "Welcome to the Danger Room," she said. "The most advanced training facility on Earth." Naruto whistled. "Impressive. But it's just an empty room." Jean smiled. "Not for long. Hank. Run Program Phoenix 01. The room shimmered, and suddenly they were standing on a rocky plateau under a starry sky. The transformation was so complete and instantaneous that Naruto instinctively jumped into a defensive stance. "Holographic simulation," Jean explained. "Combined with force fields and mechanical elements. It can create virtually any environment or scenario." "That's incredible," Naruto admitted, cautiously touching a nearby rock. It felt solid. "We have genjutsu, illusion techniques, but nothing this realistic without being trapped in someone's mind." "Today we're going to start with the basics," Jean continued. "Understanding what triggers the Phoenix and how to contain it." Rogue moved to the edge of the area. "I'll be here if things get out of control." Jean nodded her thanks. "Naruto, what do you know about your chakra control?" "Pretty much everything," he replied. "Nature transformation, shape manipulation, sage techniques, bijou mode with Kurama. Show me the most basic form of chakra manifestation you can." Naruto formed the familiar hand sign and concentrated. Blue energy swirled around him, visible but contained. Good, Jean said. Now, I want you to feel for something different. Hotter, more primal. It might feel like it's coming from a deeper place than your normal chakra. Naruto closed his eyes, sensing inward. Beyond his own chakra, beyond even Kurama's red energy, he felt something else, ancient, burning, alive in a way that defied explanation. I feel it, he said. It's like fire, but aware. Hungry. That's the phoenix, Jean confirmed. Now, very carefully, draw just a thread of it to the surface. Naruto tried, imagining pulling a single strand of the fiery energy up through his chakra network. For a moment, it seemed to work, a flicker of flame appeared around his fingers. Then it surged, wildly expanding beyond his control. Fire erupted around his body, forming the distinctive shape of a bird. Shit, he cursed, struggling to contain it. Don't fight it directly, Jean called. Guide it, like water flowing through channels. Naruto tried to apply his chakra control techniques, imagining the phoenix energy flowing through the same pathways he used for Rasengan formation. Gradually, the flames receded, condensing into a fiery aura around his hands. That's it, Jean encouraged. The phoenix responds to will and emotion. Strong emotions make it flare, but purpose and intent can direct it. Sweat beaded on Naruto's forehead as he maintained the delicate balance. It's not like chakra. It has its own agenda. Exactly. The phoenix is sentient. You're not just controlling energy, you're negotiating with another consciousness. The flames flickered, then abruptly snuffed out as Naruto felt a surge from Kurama. Don't give it too much freedom, the fox growled in his mind. It will consume you if you let it. Kurama's interfering, Naruto explained to Jean. He doesn't trust the phoenix. Smart fox, she replied. Neither do I, and I've been bonded with it longer than anyone. They continued practicing for another hour, Naruto drawing out small amounts of phoenix energy, forming it into simple shapes, then returning it to dormancy. Each time got easier, though the power remained volatile. You're a quick study, Jean observed as they finished. Most people would have been overwhelmed completely by now. I had a good teacher with Kurama, Naruto replied. Learning to use his chakra without going berserk took years. You're doing great, Rogue added, approaching now that the flames had subsided. Naruto grinned, pleased by the praise. So what's next? Flaming Rasengan? Phoenix shadow clones? Rest, Jean said firmly. Phoenix energy taxes the body differently than chakra. You need to recover between sessions. As if on cue, Naruto suddenly felt bone-tired, his limbs heavy. Whoa. You weren't kidding. Rogue, can you make sure he gets back to his room? Jean asked. I need to update the professor. Sure thing. Rogue motioned for Naruto to follow her. As they left the danger room, Naruto's knees buckled. Rogue caught him instinctively, her bare hand grasping his wrist where his sleeve had ridden up. They both froze, eyes wide as they registered the skin contact. Sorry, she said quickly, starting to pull away. No, it's okay, Naruto assured her, genuinely amazed. It doesn't hurt or anything. Rogue stared at their connected skin. No, it doesn't. Wonder filled her voice. Naruto studied her face, the shock, the vulnerability, the hope she seemed afraid to acknowledge. On impulse, he turned his hand to grasp hers properly. See? All good. Tears welled in Rogue's eyes. She quickly blinked them away, but her voice was thick when she spoke. Let's get you to your room before you collapse. She kept holding his hand as they walked, and Naruto pretended not to notice how her fingers trembled slightly or how she kept glancing down at their joined hands as if expecting them to disappear. 3 days passed in a blur of training sessions, medical tests, and cultural orientation. Naruto's control over the phoenix improved steadily, though flare-ups still occurred when his emotions ran high. Beast continued monitoring the interaction between Kurama's chakra and the Phoenix Force, fascinated by the way they sometimes synchronized and other times opposed each other. On the fourth morning, Naruto woke early, restless energy coursing through him despite the intensive training. Back home, he would have gone for a run or found someone to spar with. Here, he wasn't sure what his options were. He found his way to the mansion's kitchen, surprised to find Logan already there, drinking coffee and reading a newspaper. "Morning, kid," Logan grunted without looking up. "Morning. Any chance I could get some training that doesn't involve cosmic firebirds? I need to stay sharp with my regular skills too." Logan folded his paper. "Figured you'd ask eventually. Combat room in 30 minutes. Don't be late." Exactly 30 minutes later, Naruto entered a gym-like space where Logan waited, dressed in workout clothes. "Ground rules," Logan said. "No claws, no phoenix. Just skill against skill. I heal fast, so don't hold back too much." Naruto grinned. "Same here." What followed was the most satisfying sparring session Naruto had experienced since arriving. Logan fought like a wild animal, all instinct and brutal efficiency, but with surprising technical skill. Naruto matched him with shinobi techniques, substituting taijutsu for the ninjutsu he'd normally use. "Not bad, kid," Logan admitted after Naruto successfully countered a complex combination. "Who taught you to fight?" "Lots of people. Kakashi-sensei, Jiraiya, Tsunade-chan. Plus about 1,000 shadow clone training sessions." "Shadow clones?" Naruto formed the hand sign, and 3 perfect copies appeared beside him. Logan's eyes widened slightly, the most surprised Naruto had seen from him yet. "Solid duplicates," Logan observed, poking one. "Not illusions or holograms. They're physical copies that can fight independently," Naruto explained. "When they disperse, I get all their memories and experience. Great for training. Handy trick." Logan suddenly lunged, dispelling one clone with a swift strike. "But they're not as durable as you." They continued sparring, drawing a small audience as other X-Men noticed the commotion. Rogue appeared in the doorway, watching with interest as Naruto demonstrated more shinobi techniques. "He's good," Scott commented, standing beside her. "Different fighting style than anything I've seen," Rogue replied. "More efficient than flashy." The session ended with Logan and Naruto at a stalemate, both breathing hard but grinning. "We should do this daily," Logan suggested, wiping sweat from his brow. "Keep you sharp while you figure out the Phoenix stuff." "Deal," Naruto agreed enthusiastically. As the crowd dispersed, Rogue approached. "Nice moves. Very different from how we train. Want to learn some?" Naruto offered impulsively. "Basic taijutsu, hand-to-hand combat techniques." Rogue hesitated. "I usually avoid close combat because of my skin. But that's not an issue with me," Naruto pointed out. "And knowing more fighting styles could help in situations where your powers aren't an option." She considered this. "You're right. When do we start?" "No time like the present," Naruto replied with a grin. "If you're up for it." Rogue matched his smile, a determined glint in her eye. "Show me what you've got, shinobi." They spent the next hour with Naruto teaching Rogue basic stances and strikes. Her existing combat training made her a quick study, though the shinobi style was more acrobatic than she was used to. "You're a natural," Naruto praised as she executed a perfect combination. "Having a teacher who doesn't flinch when I touch them helps," she replied, then immediately looked as if she regretted bringing it up. "Makes sense," Naruto said casually, trying to ease her discomfort. "Hard to learn proper form without contact." Rogue nodded, grateful for his understanding. "Most combat training I've done has been with Logan. He can heal from my touch, but it still hurts him every time." Naruto frowned, imagining how isolating that would be. "Well, now you've got me." And I'm definitely not going anywhere until I figure out this Phoenix situation. Something flickered in Rogue's eyes, hope, maybe. Or concern. What happens when you do figure it out? She asked quietly. Will you try to go back to your world? The question caught Naruto off guard. Of course he wanted to return to Konoha, to his friends, his responsibilities. But the thought of leaving this place, leaving Rogue and the others, created an unexpected pang of conflict. I don't know if it's even possible, he admitted. But yeah, I'd have to try. My precious people are there. Rogue nodded, her expression carefully neutral. Of course. I just wondered. Their training session resumed, but something had shifted in the atmosphere between them, a new awareness, a recognition of temporary connections. Later that afternoon, Jean found Naruto on the mansion's roof, gazing at the sunset. Homesick? She asked, sitting beside him. Strangely, not as much as I should be, he admitted. This place is growing on me. The X-Men have that effect. We're good at becoming family to strays and outcasts. Naruto smiled. We have that in common with Konoha then. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. I heard you've been training with Logan and Rogue, Jean finally said. Good idea, keeping your other skills sharp. It helps me feel more like myself, Naruto replied. The Phoenix stuff is still foreign. Jean nodded understandingly. It always will be, in some ways. The Phoenix isn't human. Its perspective spans millions of years and countless worlds. Have you ever communicated with it directly? Like, had a conversation? In a way, Jean said thoughtfully. Not with words, exactly. More through impressions. Emotions. Glimpses of its purpose. Which is rebirth through destruction. The Phoenix burns away what is to make way for what could be. Jean's voice took on that strange echo quality again. It's neither good nor evil, it simply is, like gravity or time. Sounds a lot like the cycle of hatred back home, Naruto mused. Destruction breeding more destruction. But you broke that cycle, didn't you? Jean asked, surprising him. I've seen fragments in your mind during our training. You chose a different path. Naruto thought about his journey, from hated orphan to respected shinobi, from fearing Kurama to partnering with him. I tried, anyway. Maybe that's why the Phoenix chose you, Jean suggested. Maybe it's seeking something beyond its nature too. The idea was strangely comforting. Before Naruto could respond, alarms blared throughout the mansion. Jean was instantly on her feet. Perimeter breach. We need to move. They raced downstairs to find X-Men mobilizing in the main hall. Xavier was issuing directions from his wheelchair. Eastern boundary. Multiple hostiles. Power signatures suggest advanced weapons. Who are they? Scott demanded, already in his Cyclops uniform. Unknown, but they're specifically targeting the Phoenix energy signature, Xavier replied grimly. They're here for Naruto. Called it, Logan muttered, unsheathing his claws. Every power-hungry organization would come knocking. Rogue appeared, pulling on her combat gloves. How many? At least 20 operatives, Xavier answered. And something else, a power signature I don't recognize. Plan? Cyclops asked. Protect the students. Move them to the safe rooms, Xavier ordered. Cyclops, Storm, Wolverine, Jean, engage the intruders. Keep them from reaching the mansion. What about me? Naruto asked. Xavier turned to him. You're their target. Ideally, you would remain hidden. Not happening, Naruto replied firmly. I don't hide while others fight my battles. A small smile touched Xavier's lips. I suspected you'd say that. Very well, join the defense, but be careful. We still don't know the full extent of your combined abilities. I'll go with him, Rogue volunteered. If the phoenix flares, I can help contain it. Xavier nodded. Be careful, all of you. The X-Men moved out, racing toward the eastern grounds where dark-clad figures were already advancing through the trees. Spotlights illuminated the intruders, soldiers in tactical gear, carrying weapons that glowed with unusual energy. Those aren't standard firearms, Beast observed as they took positions. Energy weapons, possibly designed to contain mutant abilities. Let's not find out what they do, Cyclops replied before firing an optic blast that sent 3 soldiers flying. The battle erupted across the grounds. Storm called down lightning while Wolverine engaged in close combat. Jean used telekinesis to disarm groups of soldiers at a time. Naruto created shadow clones, flanking the attackers from multiple directions. We need one alive for questioning. Xavier's voice came through their comms. On it. Naruto replied. He formed a Rasengan, keeping the Phoenix energy carefully contained as he charged toward a cluster of soldiers. One of them raised their weapon. Target acquired. Phoenix host confirmed. The weapon fired, not a bullet, but a burst of energy that somehow slowed Naruto's movements, like running through thick syrup. He felt the Phoenix stir angrily in response to the external force. Careful, he warned his allies. Their weapons affect chakra flow. Rogue appeared beside him, delivering a flying kick to the soldier who had fired. You okay? Yeah, just thrown off balance. Naruto shook off the effect. These guys came prepared specifically for me. Which means someone knew you were here, Rogue realized. We have a security breach. Before they could process this, the air distorted near the tree line. A figure stepped through what appeared to be a portal, tall, imposing, dressed in ornate armor with a flowing cape. Who the hell is that? Naruto asked. I don't know, Rogue replied, tension in her voice. Never seen him before. The newcomer surveyed the battlefield with cool detachment. When his gaze landed on Naruto, a smile curved his lips. The vessel, he intoned, his voice carrying despite the chaos. How fascinating. 2 ancient powers in one mortal shell. Jean landed beside them, her face pale. That psychic signature, it's familiar, but twisted. The armored figure raised his hand, and soldiers near him froze in place. Pawns have served their purpose. The true game begins. With a casual gesture, he sent the soldiers flying in all directions, clearing a path between himself and Naruto. Okay, definitely not with them, Naruto muttered. I am Strife, the figure announced. And I've come a very long way to meet the one who has achieved what I could not, perfect union with cosmic power. Cyclops' optic blast hit Strife directly, only to dissipate harmlessly against a telekinetic shield. Scott Summers, Strife said with disturbing familiarity. Always the first to attack, never the wisest. How do you know me? Cyclops demanded. Strife ignored the question. His focus remained fixed on Naruto. The Phoenix Force eludes most who seek it. Yet it chose you, a being from another reality entirely. I want to understand why. Naruto felt both Kurama and the Phoenix stirring, reacting to the threat. Maybe it just has good taste, he shot back. Strife laughed. Defiance. Humor in the face of the unknown. Perhaps that is part of it. What do you want? Jean demanded, stepping forward. Phoenix energy flickered around her as well, though fainter than Naruto's. To observe. To understand. Strife's eyes narrowed. And ultimately, to extract what I need. He raised his hand again, and Naruto felt a powerful telekinetic force grip him, lifting him off the ground. The pressure was immense, squeezing his lungs. Your body contains the secret to perfect symbiosis with cosmic power, Strife continued. I intend to learn that secret, even if I must tear you apart to do so. The pressure increased. Naruto felt his ribs straining, about to crack. Inside him, Kurama roared with fury while the phoenix flared defensively. "Let me out, Kit," Kurama demanded. "This weakling needs to learn his place." For once, the phoenix seemed to agree with the fox. Heat built rapidly inside Naruto, both energies responding to the threat. "No," Naruto gasped, fighting for control. "Not here. Too many people." Jean attacked Strife telepathically while Rogue raced toward them, determination on her face. Strife repelled Jean with a psychic backlash that sent her to her knees. "Your friends cannot help you," Strife said calmly. "Now, let us see what happens when I apply a bit more pressure." Pain exploded through Naruto's body. His control slipped, and both Kurama's chakra and Phoenix fire erupted simultaneously. Red chakra cloak formed around him, overlaid with fiery phoenix wings. The combined energy shattered Strife's telekinetic hold. "Fascinating," Strife exclaimed, genuinely delighted. Two distinct energy signatures, harmonizing rather than opposing. "Even better than I hoped." Naruto dropped to the ground, his body glowing with the combined powers. His appearance had changed, eyes shifting between slitted red and burning gold, whisker marks darkened, a corona of flame and chakra surrounding him. "You want to see what I can do?" Naruto growled, his voice overlaid with inhuman harmonics. "Fine. Let me show you." He moved with blinding speed, crossing the distance to Strife in an instant. His Rasengan, now swirling with both chakra and phoenix fire, slammed into Strife's shield. The impact created a shockwave that tore through the surrounding area, uprooting trees and cracking the ground. Strife staggered back, his shield cracking but holding. "Remarkable power. But raw strength isn't everything, boy." He countered with a telekinetic blast that Naruto barely dodged. The battle intensified as they exchanged blows, neither gaining a clear advantage. Naruto created flaming shadow clones while Strife manipulated the environment itself as a weapon. The X-Men regrouped, dealing with the remaining soldiers while monitoring the high-powered duel. "We need to end this before they level the entire grounds," Cyclops shouted over the chaos. "I have an idea," Rogue replied. "But I need to get close to Naruto." "Too dangerous," Logan growled. "He's lost in the power." "No, he hasn't," Rogue insisted. "Look at his eyes, he's still in control, just barely. And I'm the only one who can touch him safely." Before anyone could stop her, Rogue sprinted toward the battle. She dodged debris and energy blasts, keeping low and moving fast. Naruto sensed her approach but couldn't divert his attention from Strife, who was proving frustratingly resilient. Every time he landed a hit, Strife adapted, adjusting his defenses. "Your potential is wasted here," Strife called to him. "These primitives cannot help you master what you contain." "I can." Not interested, Naruto shot back, forming a massive Rasen Shuriken infused with phoenix fire. As he prepared to launch it, Rogue reached him. "Naruto. The mansion. The students." Her words penetrated his battle focus. Glancing around, he saw the devastation their fight was causing, trees uprooted, the ground fractured, part of the mansion's east wing damaged. Worse, he could sense the younger mutants huddled in safe rooms, terrified by the cosmic energies raging outside. "Shit," he muttered, the Rasen Shuriken dissipating. "We need to move this fight away from here." Rogue nodded. "Can you teleport?" "Jean can with the phoenix." "I don't know how," Naruto admitted. Strife laughed. Hesitation. The fatal flaw of heroes. He launched another attack, this one aimed not at Naruto but at the mansion itself. A massive telekinetic wave raced toward the building where the students were sheltered. "No!" Naruto shouted. Without thinking, he threw himself into the path of the attack, arms spread wide. The impact was devastating. Naruto absorbed the full force of Strife's power, his body lighting up with pain as bones shattered and organs ruptured. He fell to his knees, blood pouring from his mouth. Naruto! Rogue screamed, rushing to his side. Inside him, both Kurama and the Phoenix responded with unprecedented synchronicity. Healing energy surged through his broken body, repairing damage at an astonishing rate. The pain receded, replaced by a clarity Naruto had never experienced before. He could feel everything, every molecule of air, every heartbeat of the people around him, the very life force of the earth beneath his feet. The Phoenix and Kurama weren't fighting anymore, they were aligned, united in purpose. Naruto stood, his body completely healed and radiating power. But this wasn't the wild, destructive force from before. This was controlled, focused, purposeful. "Rogue," he said calmly, "get everyone back. Now." She hesitated only a moment before nodding and retreating. Naruto turned to face Strife, who watched with undisguised fascination. "You wanted to see what I can do," Naruto said, his voice steady. "Here it is." He raised his hand, and a perfect sphere of energy formed above his palm, not a Rasengan, but something new. Inside the sphere, red chakra and phoenix fire swirled together in perfect harmony, creating patterns like galaxies being born and dying in miniature. Strife's eyes widened. "The harmonization is complete. You've achieved what should be impossible." "You talk too much," Naruto replied. With a simple gesture, he sent the sphere flying toward Strife. Strife erected his strongest shield, but the sphere passed through it as if it weren't there. When it reached him, it didn't explode, it simply expanded, encasing him in a bubble of combined energy. "What is this?" Strife demanded, pushing against the boundary. "Some kind of containment field?" "Something like that," Naruto replied. "It's separating you from your powers. Inside that sphere, you're just a man in fancy armor." Fury contorted Strife's features. "Impossible. No power can negate mine completely." "This isn't negating," Naruto explained. "It's balancing. Creating harmony where there was discord. The Phoenix understands destruction and rebirth. Kurama understands hatred and reconciliation. Together, they're showing me a third path." The sphere contracted, forcing Strife to his knees. His armor cracked, pieces falling away to reveal a face shockingly similar to Cyclops's. "This isn't over," Strife hissed. "I'll find you again, Phoenix host. Your power will be mine." "Maybe," Naruto conceded. "But not today." With a final gesture, Naruto collapsed the sphere. There was a flash of light, and when it faded, Strife was gone, not destroyed, but transported elsewhere. "Where did you send him?" Jean asked, approaching cautiously. "I don't know exactly," Naruto admitted, the glow of power fading from his body. "Somewhere far away, where he can't hurt anyone for a while." The Phoenix knew where. The X-Men gathered around him, expressions ranging from awe to concern. "That was unprecedented," Beast said. "Perfect synchronization of both energy signatures." "It won't last," Naruto replied, already feeling the temporary harmony fading. "They're too different." But for a moment, they agreed. Xavier approached in his wheelchair. "You protected the students at great personal risk." "Thank you." Naruto shrugged, suddenly embarrassed by the attention. "Anyone would have done the same." "Not anyone could have survived it," Rogue pointed out, her eyes still wide from what she'd witnessed. Fatigue hit Naruto all at once, his knees buckling. Rogue caught him, her bare hand supporting his weight without hesitation. "I think I need to sit down," he mumbled. "More like lie down," she corrected, helping him toward the mansion. "Using that much power has consequences, even for you." As they moved slowly back toward the building, Logan fell into step beside them. "Not bad, kid," he said gruffly. "Little flashy for my taste, but effective." Naruto managed a tired grin. "Coming from you, that's high praise." Logan snorted. "Don't let it go to your head. Tomorrow's training session is still on, and I expect you to show up on time. The casual normalcy of the statement, after everything that had happened, made Naruto laugh. Despite the chaos, despite being in a strange world with cosmic entities battling inside him, there was something comforting about Logan's gruff consistency. As they reached the mansion, Naruto glanced back at the battlefield. The grounds were devastated, but the building stood intact, the students inside safe. For now, that was enough. But questions remained. Who was Strife really? How did he know about Naruto? And perhaps most importantly, was perfect harmony between Kurama and the Phoenix possible long-term, or had it been a temporary alliance born of necessity? In his mind, both entities had retreated to their respective domains, the brief unity already fading. But Naruto had felt what was possible, if only for a moment. And he wouldn't forget it. Come on, Rogue said gently. Let's get you inside. Tomorrow's another day. Naruto nodded, leaning on her support. Tomorrow's another day, he agreed. Chapter 2, Flames of Awakening. Naruto woke up screaming, his body engulfed in phoenix flames that didn't burn the sheets but bathed his room in eerie orange light. The door burst open as Jean rushed in, her expression shifting from alarm to understanding when she saw the fire wasn't spreading. Fourth nightmare this week, Naruto gasped as the flames receded. Sorry for waking everyone. Again. Don't apologize, Jean said, sitting on the edge of his bed. We've all been there. New powers, especially ones as intense as the Phoenix, always come with nightmares. It had been 2 weeks since the battle with Strife. 2 weeks of intensive training, bizarre cultural lessons, no, Naruto, people don't travel by rooftop here, and increasingly vivid dreams where he burned entire worlds to ash while a bird of cosmic fire screamed triumphantly inside his mind. It felt so real, Naruto said, running a hand through sweat-soaked hair. I could feel everything burning. And the worst part? I liked it. Jean's expression softened with recognition. The Phoenix feeds on emotion, especially the primal ones. Anger, fear, joy, desire. It amplifies them, makes them feel transcendent. But it wasn't just the Phoenix this time, Naruto admitted. Kurama was there too, and they weren't fighting each other. They were working together to destroy everything. Jean frowned. That's concerning. When cosmic entities synchronize their destructive aspects. Yeah, nothing good comes from that. Naruto swung his legs over the side of the bed. No way I'm getting back to sleep now. Danger room in 30? Jean suggested. Might as well put that energy to use. Naruto grinned. You're on. 28 minutes later, Naruto entered the danger room wearing the training uniform Beast had designed for him, a black and orange bodysuit made from unstable molecules that could withstand both chakra and phoenix manifestations without burning away. Jean was already there, programming the simulation. What's today's scenario? Naruto asked, stretching. Something new, Jean replied with a small smile. You've been improving so quickly with basic control exercises that Hank and I designed a more challenging program. The room shimmered, transforming into a vast, desolate landscape, cracked earth, dead trees, an ominous red sky. In the distance, shadowy figures approached, their forms constantly shifting between human and monstrous. Shadow people? Naruto asked, dropping into a defensive stance. Psychic constructs, Jean explained. They're programmed to respond to and exploit emotional triggers. Each one will try to provoke a different reaction, fear, anger, grief, doubt. So I'm fighting my own emotions? You're learning to control your reactions while using your powers, Jean corrected. The Phoenix is emotion reactive. The more you can maintain focus under emotional stress, the better your control will be. Naruto nodded, understanding the value of the exercise. So what's the objective? Neutralize the constructs without losing control of the Phoenix. If your emotional response triggers a full Phoenix manifestation, the program terminates and we start over. Sounds fun, Naruto said with a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. Let's do this. The first shadow figure reached him, its form solidifying into something that made Naruto's breath catch. Sasuke, but wrong somehow, twisted and dark. You failed me, the construct Sasuke said in a perfect mimicry of his friend's voice. You couldn't bring me back. You were too weak. Not real, Naruto reminded himself, but anger flared anyway. He felt the phoenix responding immediately, heat building in his chest. Forcing himself to breathe evenly, Naruto channeled a precise amount of chakra, not the wild rage the shadow was trying to provoke, but controlled, focused energy. He formed a basic Rasengan, keeping the phoenix energy carefully contained. I didn't fail anyone, he said calmly, driving the Rasengan into the false Sasuke. The construct dissipated into smoke. Good, Jean called from the control area. Clean chakra use, minimal phoenix response. The next shadow took the form of Sakura, her face contorted with disappointment. We needed you, and you abandoned us. Left us all alone while you play superhero in another world. Guilt stabbed through Naruto. The phoenix stirred again, feeding on the emotion. This time, he allowed a controlled amount of phoenix energy to mix with his chakra, creating a fiery clone that engaged the shadow Sakura while Naruto himself maintained emotional distance. I didn't choose this, he told the construct. But I will find my way back. His clone dispatched the shadow efficiently. Interesting approach, Jean noted. Using a proxy to create emotional distance. Creative. The exercise continued, each shadow targeting a different emotional vulnerability. A construct of Irika blamed him for abandoning his responsibilities. A twisted version of Tsunade accused him of seeking power for its own sake. Each time, Naruto found a different approach, balancing chakra and phoenix energy in increasingly sophisticated combinations. The final shadow was the most challenging. It took Rogue's form, her eyes filled with trust as she reached for him. You're the only one who can touch me, Shadow Rogue said softly. The only one I can be close to. You'll stay, won't you? Desire and protective instinct surged through Naruto, along with guilt at the thought of eventually leaving. The phoenix responded powerfully to these complex emotions, flames licking along his arms. This isn't fair, Naruto muttered. Emotions rarely are, Jean replied. Focus. Naruto took a deep breath. This construct wasn't targeting anger or fear, it was targeting his growing feelings for Rogue, complicated by his situation as a visitor from another reality. Rather than fighting the Shadow Rogue or using a clone, Naruto did something unexpected. He allowed the phoenix energy to flow, but directed it inward, using it to illuminate his own feelings rather than project outward. The fire swept through him, burning away confusion and leaving clarity. I don't know what the future holds, he told the construct calmly, but I won't make promises I can't keep. Not to the real Rogue, and not to you. The shadow smiled sadly and faded away. The simulation ended, the desolate landscape dissolving back into the metallic walls of the danger room. Impressive, Jean said, joining him on the training floor. That last solution was unexpected. I'm full of surprises, Naruto replied with a small smile, though the encounter had left him unsettled. The phoenix doesn't just amplify emotions, does it? It clarifies them somehow. Jean nodded. It burns away pretense. Self-deception doesn't survive contact with cosmic fire. Convenient and terrifying at the same time. That's the phoenix in a nutshell. Jean's expression turned serious. Your control is improving dramatically, but there's something we need to address. The dreams you're having, they're not just nightmares. Naruto frowned. What do you mean? The phoenix exists across multiple realities simultaneously. When you dream of burning worlds, you may be glimpsing other facets of the phoenix's existence. You're saying those worlds are actually burning? Right now. Time is fluid for the phoenix, Jean explained. Past, present, future, they're all happening at once. From its perspective. What you're seeing could be memories, current events in parallel dimensions, or potential futures. Naruto rubbed his temples. That's a lot to process before breakfast. Which is why I didn't mention it earlier, Jean admitted. But your increasing synchronicity with the Phoenix means you'll likely experience more of these visions. You need to be prepared. Great. More cosmic baggage. Naruto sighed. At least Kurama just gave me whiskers and a bad temper. Jean laughed. Speaking of your fox friend, have you been able to communicate with him more clearly? It's getting better, Naruto said. He's not as muffled. Actually, I was planning to try a deep meditation today, see if I can have a proper conversation. Good idea. Understanding how Kurama and the Phoenix interact could be key to maintaining control. Jean checked her watch. The others will be waking up soon. Want to grab breakfast before everyone descends on the kitchen? Definitely. I'm starving. As they headed toward the door, Jean placed a hand on his arm. Naruto, about that last construct, the one that took Rogue's form. Naruto felt heat rising to his cheeks that had nothing to do with the Phoenix. What about it? Be careful, Jean said gently. Not because of anything wrong with having feelings, but because your situation is complicated. For both of you. I know, Naruto replied. Trust me, I know. The mansion's kitchen was already bustling when they arrived. Logan sat at the counter reading a newspaper and drinking black coffee. Beast was explaining some scientific concept to a blue-skinned teenage boy while making pancakes. Several younger students grabbed toast and juice before rushing off to morning classes. Morning, Naruto greeted everyone, heading straight for the refrigerator. After weeks of American food, he'd finally convinced Beast to stock some ingredients that approximated his usual diet. He pulled out eggs, rice, and pickled vegetables. Early training again? Logan asked without looking up from his paper. Phoenix nightmare, Jean explained, pouring herself coffee. Logan grunted sympathetically. Those are the worst kind. As Naruto cooked his breakfast, Rogue entered the kitchen. Her hair was still damp from a shower, the white streak framing her face. She wore her usual layers, long-sleeved shirt, gloves, despite being among friends who knew her powers. Morning, everyone, she said, her southern accent more pronounced when she was tired. Her eyes met Naruto's, and a small smile crossed her lips. Smells good. What are you making? Closest thing to a traditional fire country breakfast I can manage with what you call ingredients, Naruto replied with a grin. Want to try some? Sure, why not? She slid onto a stool beside him, watching as he expertly flipped the eggs. You're getting pretty good with earth appliances. Fast learner, Naruto said. Plus, I lived alone most of my life. You either learn to cook or starve. Rogue's expression softened with understanding. They'd spent enough time together over the past 2 weeks for Naruto to share parts of his childhood, the isolation, the loneliness, the struggle to be acknowledged. In turn, Rogue had opened up about her own experiences after her powers manifested, the fear in people's eyes when they learned what her touch could do. He served 2 plates of his makeshift breakfast. Rogue took a cautious bite, then nodded appreciatively. Different, but good, she said. Definitely beats cereal. As they ate, Professor Xavier entered the kitchen, his wheelchair humming softly. Good morning, everyone. Naruto, when you've finished breakfast, I'd like to see you in my study. There are some developments we should discuss. Something in Xavier's tone made Naruto glance up sharply. Problem? Not necessarily. Just new information that requires consideration. After Xavier left, Naruto quickly finished his food. Cryptic much? That's the professor for you, Rogue said. Want me to come along? If you don't have other plans, Naruto replied, trying to sound casual despite his genuine appreciation for her support. Danger room session with Scott, but not until 10. She stood, taking their plates to the sink. Let's see what's going on. They found Xavier in his study, Jean already there along with Beast. A holographic display hovered above Xavier's desk, showing what looked like energy readings. "Ah, Naruto, Rogue. Please, come in," Xavier greeted them. "We've been analyzing data collected during your training sessions." Naruto approached the display. "What am I looking at?" "Energy signatures," Beast explained, adjusting his glasses. "The blue pattern is your chakra, the orange is the Phoenix Force, and the red is what we believe to be the Ninetales energy." The patterns swirled and intersected on the display. At certain points, they synchronized briefly before diverging again. "We've noticed something intriguing," Xavier continued. During moments of high stress or intense focus, all three energies briefly align, creating a harmonic pattern we've never seen before. "Like during the fight with Strife," Naruto said, remembering the moment of perfect clarity when Kurama and the Phoenix had worked together. "Exactly," Beast confirmed. "But it's happening on a smaller scale during training as well. The question is whether this synchronization can be stabilized. And whether it should be," Jean added, her expression concerned. "That much power, permanently aligned, it could be dangerous. Or it could be the solution to controlling both entities," Xavier countered. "If they can work in harmony rather than opposition, perhaps the destructive aspects would be balanced by the creative ones." Naruto studied the patterns. "What does this mean for me, practically speaking?" "We believe you should attempt conscious communication with both entities simultaneously," Xavier said. "A three-way conference, if you will." "Is that even possible?" Rogue asked. "Theoretically," Beast replied. "Naruto regularly communicates with the Ninetales in his mindscape. Jean has communicated with the Phoenix in a similar manner. Combining the two approaches could yield interesting results. Or catastrophic ones," Jean cautioned. "These are ancient, powerful beings with their own agendas." Naruto considered this. "I was planning to try reaching Kurama today anyway. Might as well invite the Phoenix to the party." "I strongly recommend supervision," Xavier said. "I can monitor the psychic aspects while Jean stands ready to intervene if the Phoenix energy becomes unstable." "And me?" Rogue asked. "Physical anchor," Beast suggested. "If Naruto begins to manifest externally, fire, chakra flares, your touch could help ground him." Naruto nodded. "Works for me. When do we start?" "No time. Like the present," Xavier replied. "We've prepared the meditation room." The meditation room was a circular chamber with soft lighting and acoustically designed walls that absorbed sound, creating profound silence. Cushions were arranged in a circle on the floor. In the center sat a small crystal that emitted a faint blue light. "The crystal helps focus psychic energy," Xavier explained as they entered. "It won't interfere with your connection to either entity, but it will help us monitor your mindscape." Naruto sat cross-legged on the central cushion. Jean and Xavier positioned themselves on either side of him, while Rogue sat directly in front, her gloves removed. "Ready?" Xavier asked. Naruto took a deep breath. "As I'll ever be." "Begin by finding your center," Jean instructed. "The place where your own consciousness is clearest, before reaching for either Kurama or the Phoenix." Naruto closed his eyes, focusing on his breathing. He'd done this countless times, the meditative state that allowed him to visit his inner mindscape where Kurama resided. Gradually, the outside world faded away, and he felt himself sinking inward. The familiar sewer-like passages of his mindscape appeared around him. But something was different. The usual dim lighting was enhanced by a warm, flickering glow that hadn't been there before. Following the light, Naruto made his way to the central chamber where Kurama's cage stood. The cage remained, but it had changed. The bars now resembled fiery branches rather than metal, though they seemed just as solid. Inside, Kurama lay curled in his usual position, massive tails swishing lazily. Floating above the cage was a brilliant shape of pure fire, vaguely bird-like but constantly shifting. About time you visited, Kit, Kurama rumbled, opening one massive eye. Your new roommate is annoyingly chatty. You can communicate with the Phoenix? Naruto asked, surprised. Not in words. In impressions. Cosmic garbage about death and rebirth. Very dramatic. The fiery shape above pulsed, as if responding to Kurama's dismissive tone. Can you understand me? Naruto asked, addressing the Phoenix directly. The fire swirled and condensed, forming into a more defined avian shape. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, resonating not just in Naruto's ears but in his very being. Understanding is limited by form. But yes, vessel, I comprehend your intent. The voice was overwhelming, not loud in volume but in presence, like standing at the edge of an erupting volcano. Okay, good start, Naruto said, struggling to maintain his composure. I'm Naruto, by the way. Not vessel. Names are transient. Vessel's temporary. But I will use your designation if it pleases you. Told you it was dramatic, Kurama muttered. The Phoenix flared brighter. And you, nine-tailed one, are arrogant for a being so young and small. Kurama bristled, his tails lashing. Small. I've destroyed mountains with a single swipe of my tails. I have consumed galaxies. Okay, enough with the cosmic measuring contest, Naruto interrupted. I need to understand why you're both here, in me, and how we make this work without destroying everything around us. Both entities turned their attention to him. I'm here because your father sealed me inside you when you were an infant, Kurama replied. You know this already. I chose you, the Phoenix stated. Across the multiverse, you were unique, a mortal already containing a powerful entity, your energies intertwined yet balanced. So it wasn't an accident? Naruto asked. You deliberately pulled me from my world to this one. The Phoenix's form shifted, suggesting something like regret. Transition between realities was necessary. Your original form could not contain me. Wait, Naruto said, alarmed. What does that mean? Am I not the same person anymore? You are, Kurama assured him. Your chakra, your soul, they're unchanged. But your physical form has been adapted. I felt it happen during the transition. Your essence remains. Your vessel has evolved to accommodate my presence alongside the fox, the Phoenix elaborated. Had I entered your original form, both you and your world would have been consumed. Naruto processed this. So you saved my world by bringing me here. And what, remaking my body? Preservation and creation are within my nature, as much as destruction, the Phoenix replied. Your world continues. Your form endures, enhanced. Enhanced how? Ask the blue one who examines you, Kurama suggested. He has noticed the changes, though he doesn't understand their significance. Naruto made a mental note to question Beast later. Okay, next question. During the fight with Strife, you two worked together. Can that happen again? Consistently? Kurama and the Phoenix exchanged what could only be described as a look, despite their vastly different forms. It is possible, Kurama admitted. We share certain resonances. The fox understands cycles of hatred and reconciliation. I understand cycles of destruction and rebirth. There is harmony in these patterns. So you can work together? Naruto pressed. Under specific conditions. When purposes align, the Phoenix clarified. When you're in genuine danger, Kurama added. Or when your emotions align perfectly with both our natures. And how do I make that happen deliberately? You do not command cosmic forces, Naruto, the Phoenix stated, though without anger. You channel them. Direction, not control. What the Firebird is trying to say, Kurama translated, is that you need to find the emotional state that bridges our purposes. The same clarity you found when protecting those young ones from strife. Naruto thought back to that moment, the perfect clarity, the sense of purpose that went beyond his own survival. Protecting others, he realized. Not just fighting to win, but fighting to preserve life. Both entities pulsed in what seemed like agreement. Your understanding grows, the Phoenix acknowledged. This is why I chose you. Your capacity to transform destruction into protection. Don't let it go to your head, Kurama warned. Even with alignment, our combined power would overwhelm you if fully unleashed. One last question, Naruto said. Can you send me home? Back to my world? The atmosphere in the mindscape grew heavier. Transit between realities requires specific conditions, the Phoenix replied. Cosmic alignments. Dimensional weak points. It's saying maybe, but not easily, Kurama interpreted. And probably not without consequences. Naruto absorbed this, a mix of disappointment and relief washing through him. So I'm stuck here for now. Your path is unfolding as it must, the Phoenix stated. Attachments form. Purpose clarifies. Very helpful, Naruto muttered. Always wanted my life explained in fortune cookie wisdom. Kurama chuckled. Now you know how I felt watching you stumble through adolescence. The mindscape began to waver, the edges blurring. Your physical form requires attention, Kurama warned. The connection is straining. We will speak again, Naruto, the Phoenix said as its fiery form began to disperse. Seek balance, not dominance. The mindscape dissolved around him, and Naruto gasped as he returned to his physical body. His eyes snapped open to find everyone staring at him with varying degrees of concern. You're on fire, Rogue informed him calmly, her bare hand resting on his arm despite the flames dancing across his skin. Oh, Naruto said, looking down at himself. The fire wasn't burning him or Rogue, but it had singed the cushion he sat on. Sorry about that. Jean made a gesture, and the flames receded. What happened? We could sense the psychic energy, but couldn't hear the conversation. A lot, Naruto replied, still processing everything. The Phoenix didn't accidentally bring me here, it deliberately chose me because I already contained Kurama. And apparently it had to modify my body somehow to make it work. Beast leaned forward. That would explain the anomalies in your cellular structure. Your body shows signs of accelerated evolution, enhanced energy pathways, improved neural connectivity, reinforced molecular bonds. The Phoenix remade you to serve as its host, Xavier said thoughtfully. Fascinating. And concerning, Jean added. Did it say why it chose now to seek a new host? Naruto shook his head. Not specifically. Just cosmic mumbo-jumbo about cycles and patterns. What about returning to your world? Rogue asked quietly, her hand still resting on his arm. Naruto met her eyes. Not easily. Maybe not at all, at least for now. A flicker of something, relief. Guilt, passed through Rogue's expression before she carefully neutralized it. I'm sorry. I'm not sure I am, Naruto admitted. I miss my friends, but I'm needed here too, I think. The Phoenix chose me for a reason. Xavier studied him intently. Did you achieve any synchronization between the entities? Sort of. They said they can work together when our purposes align, specifically when I'm protecting others, not just fighting. Naruto stretched, suddenly aware of how stiff his body felt. How long was I under? Nearly 3 hours, Jean replied. 3 hours? Naruto exclaimed. It felt like minutes. Time flows differently in psychic spaces, Xavier explained. Especially when cosmic entities are involved. Naruto stood, his legs tingling as blood flow returned to normal. I need to move. And eat. Talking to ancient beings really works up an appetite. I'll go with you, Rogue offered, standing as well. You probably shouldn't be alone after an experience like that. Jean and Xavier exchanged glances. That's an excellent idea, Xavier agreed. In fact, Rogue, I think you should continue working closely with Naruto. Your immunity to his energy fluctuations makes you uniquely qualified to help him stabilize. Rogue nodded, though Naruto caught a hint of suspicion in her glance toward Xavier. Whatever helps. As they left the meditation room, Naruto felt a strange double awareness, his normal senses overlaid with something else, as if he could perceive energy patterns around him. The mansion itself seemed to glow with the life force of its inhabitants, bright spots marking each person moving through the building. You okay? Rogue asked, noticing his distraction. Yeah, just, seeing things differently. Naruto blinked, and the effect faded slightly. Side effect of the cosmic mind meld, I guess. Rogue led him to the kitchen, which was empty now that lunch had passed. She began assembling sandwiches while Naruto sat at the counter, still trying to process everything he'd learned. So, she said as she worked, how does it feel? Talking to the Phoenix directly? Overwhelming. It doesn't think like we do, time, space, individuality, they all mean something different to it. Naruto accepted the sandwich she offered. Thanks. And your fox friend? Kurama? Naruto smiled. He's the same as always. Grumpy, sarcastic, but protective in his own way. He doesn't trust the Phoenix, but he's willing to work with it when necessary. Sounds like Logan, Rogue quipped, earning a laugh from Naruto. They ate in comfortable silence for a moment. Beast was saying something about your body being changed, Rogue finally said. You feel different? Naruto considered this. Not exactly. Maybe more, connected to everything. It's hard to explain. Try me, Rogue encouraged. It's like, before, I could sense chakra if I concentrated. Now I can feel life energy all around me without trying. The trees outside, the people in the mansion, even the small animals in the woods. Naruto gestured vaguely. And there are these moments where time seems to stretch or compress. Like the universe is breathing, and I'm breathing with it. Rogue listened intently. Sounds beautiful. And terrifying. That pretty much sums it up, Naruto agreed. He hesitated, then added, there's something else. When I touch people now, I can feel their emotions more clearly. Not reading minds, just, sensing feelings. Is that why you've been avoiding direct contact with most people? Rogue asked perceptively. Even casual touches? Naruto nodded. It's overwhelming sometimes. Except with you. With me? Your energy feels compatible, I guess. When I touch you, there's no discord. Naruto felt heat rising to his cheeks. That came out wrong. Rogue smiled, a slight blush coloring her own face. I think I understand. My powers don't affect you, and your awareness doesn't overwhelm you with me. Exactly. On impulse, Naruto reached across the counter, his fingers brushing hers. It's peaceful. The contact sent a pleasant warmth through both of them, noticeable but not overwhelming. Rogue's fingers curled around his, her eyes widening slightly at the novelty of such casual touch. The moment was interrupted by a sharp beep from Naruto's pocket. He reluctantly withdrew his hand to pull out the communication device Beast had given him, a simplified phone for emergencies. Naruto, Beast's voice came through the speaker. Could you come to the lab? There's something you should see regarding your energy readings. Now? Naruto asked, glancing at Rogue apologetically. If possible. It may be important. On my way, Naruto sighed, ending the call. Sorry about this. Don't be, Rogue said, though disappointment flashed briefly across her face. We've got time. The certainty in her voice made something warm bloom in Naruto's chest. Yeah, we do. Beast's laboratory was a marvel of technology and organized chaos. Holographic displays showed complex data patterns while various machines hummed and beeped. The blue-furred scientist was hunched over a microscope when Naruto arrived. "Ah, there you are." Beast looked up, excitement evident in his expression. "Come see this." Naruto approached cautiously. "What am I looking at?" "Your cells." Beast adjusted the microscope. "Or more precisely, what's happening to them?" Peering through the eyepiece, Naruto saw what looked like tiny blue stars pulsing with internal light. "Those are my cells." "Indeed. And they're doing something remarkable." Beast pulled up a holographic display. "This is a time-lapse recording of cellular division over the past week. Watch closely." The image showed Naruto's cells dividing, but instead of creating identical copies, each new generation appeared slightly different, more complex, with additional internal structures. "They're evolving," Naruto realized. "Just like the Phoenix said." "Not just evolving, directing their own evolution," Beast corrected. "It's as if each cell contains a blueprint for what it should become, and is methodically transforming to match that template." "Is it dangerous?" "Not as far as I can tell. In fact, it appears beneficial: enhanced cellular resilience, improved energy efficiency, accelerated healing." Beast's eyes gleamed with scientific curiosity. "Your body is becoming the perfect vessel for both the Phoenix Force and the Ninetales energy. So I'm turning into some kind of superpowered hybrid?" Naruto wasn't sure how to feel about this. "More than I already was, I mean." "In essence, yes." Beast removed his glasses, cleaning them thoughtfully. "Which raises important questions about long-term implications." "Like what?" "Like whether these changes are permanent, even if the Phoenix were to leave you. Or how they might affect your longevity, your resistance to disease, your—" Beast hesitated. "My what?" Naruto pressed. "Your compatibility with other humans," Beast finished delicately. "Genetically speaking." Naruto blinked. "You're talking about whether I could have kids?" "Among other considerations, yes." Beast put his glasses back on. "It's purely theoretical at this point, but worth considering if you plan to remain in this world long-term." The thought hadn't even crossed Naruto's mind. Back home, he'd always assumed he'd eventually settle down, have a family, though with whom had always been a complicated question. Here, in this strange new world, the future seemed both more uncertain and somehow more immediate. "I hadn't thought that far ahead," Naruto admitted. "Understandable. You've had rather more pressing concerns." Beast patted his shoulder. "Just something to be aware of. I'll continue monitoring the changes, but for now, they appear to be stabilizing." "The most dramatic transformations occurred in your first week here." "Thanks for telling me," Naruto said, not entirely sure if he was grateful for this new complication. As he turned to leave, Beast added, "One more thing, we've detected unusual energy emissions from your quarters while you sleep. The Phoenix manifesting during your dreams, we assume." "Yeah, I've been having nightmares. Jean knows about them." "These aren't just nightmares, Naruto." Beast's expression grew serious. "They're reaching out. The energy signatures are forming patterns consistent with dimensional rifts, small ones, unstable, but significant." Naruto froze. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that when you dream, the Phoenix may be trying to connect to other realities." Beast paused. "Possibly including your home world." Hope and alarm surged simultaneously in Naruto's chest. "You think I could reach Konoha through my dreams?" "It's a hypothesis at this stage," Beast cautioned. "But worth investigating under controlled conditions." "How would we do that?" "Jean could guide your dream state while the professor monitors for any dimensional fluctuations." Beast's eyes glinted with excitement. "At minimum, we might establish if contact is possible. At best, perhaps even communication." Naruto's mind raced with possibilities. "When can we try?" "I need to discuss the protocols with Jean and the professor first. Perhaps tomorrow night, after you've had a full day of rest." Beast frowned slightly. It's not without risk. Dimensional boundaries exist for good reason. I'll take the risk, Naruto said immediately. If there's even a chance I could let my friends know I'm alive. I understand. But promise you won't attempt this on your own. Beast fixed him with a stern look. Cosmic entities and dimensional rifts are not toys to experiment with. I promise, Naruto assured him, though the temptation was already gnawing at him. Professional supervision only. As he left the lab, Naruto's thoughts whirled with new possibilities. If he could reach Konoha in his dreams, perhaps eventually he could find a way back physically. Or at least let his friends know he hadn't abandoned them. So absorbed in these thoughts, he nearly collided with Scott Summers in the hallway. Whoa, sorry, Naruto apologized. Wasn't watching where I was going. Scott steadied him. No problem. Actually, I was looking for you. Training session in the danger room in 20 minutes, practical application. Scenarios. More Phoenix control exercises. Something different, Scott replied. Real-world combat situations where you'll need to integrate your abilities with team tactics. If you're going to be part of the X-Men while you're here, you need to learn how we operate. Naruto blinked. Part of the X-Men? I didn't realize that was on the table. The professor thinks it makes sense, Scott explained. You need protection, we need your skills, and it's safer for everyone if you're operating within our framework rather than solo. It was logical, but something in Scott's tone suggested he wasn't entirely comfortable with the arrangement. You don't sound convinced, Naruto observed. Scott sighed, his expression unreadable behind his ruby quartz visor. It's not personal. You've proven yourself capable. It's just that the Phoenix has a complicated history with the X-Men. With Jean specifically. I get that, Naruto said. And I understand your concerns. If it helps, I have no intention of letting the Phoenix run wild, and I definitely don't want to put Jean in a difficult position. Scott studied him for a moment, then nodded. That's good enough for me. For now. 20 minutes, danger room. As Scott walked away, Naruto felt a new weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Being part of the X-Men meant more than just having allies, it meant being accountable to a team, committing to their causes, their battles. It was oddly reminiscent of becoming a genin back home, though with considerably higher stakes. He headed to his room to change into his training gear, mind still buzzing with everything he'd learned. His body evolving, the Phoenix reaching across dimensions in his dreams, and now a place with the X-Men. Life had certainly taken an unexpected turn. The danger room scenario Scott had designed was ingeniously challenging, a mock urban environment where the X-Men needed to extract civilian hostages from a fortified building while minimizing collateral damage. Naruto was assigned to a team with Cyclops, Wolverine, and Storm, while Jean, Beast, and Rogue played the opposition forces. Remember, Scott briefed them as the simulation initialized, this isn't about overwhelming force. It's about precision, coordination, and adapting to changing circumstances. So basically nothing like how I usually fight, Naruto joked. Logan snorted. Join the club, kid. The scenario began with reconnaissance. Storm created cloud cover for concealment while Logan scouted the perimeter and Naruto sent shadow clones transformed to look like civilians to gather intelligence. Scott coordinated from a vantage point, developing the extraction plan based on their findings. 6 hostages, 3rd floor, Naruto reported as his clones dispersed. Jean and Beast are guarding the main room, Rogue is patrolling the corridors. Security systems throughout the building. Frontal assault is out, Scott decided. We need a distraction and a covert entry point. I can create a weather diversion, Storm offered. Thunder, lightning, heavy rain, enough to mask movement and sound. Logan and I will engage Jean and Beast directly, Scott continued. Naruto, can you use your clones to extract the hostages while we keep the guards occupied? Naruto nodded. I can create enough clones to escort each hostage individually. But what about Rogue? Her patrol pattern will intercept any group moving through the corridors. You'll have to handle Rogue, Scott said. Your immunity to her powers makes you the logical choice. The plan set, they moved into position. Storm summoned a localized thunderstorm that rattled windows and filled the simulated city block with the crash of thunder and sheets of rain. Under this cover, Scott and Logan breached the main entrance, immediately engaging Jean and Beast in a flashy, attention-grabbing battle. Meanwhile, Naruto slipped in through a third-floor window, creating 6 shadow clones once inside. Moving silently through the corridors, he located the hostages, simulation constructs programmed to act like terrified civilians. "It's okay," he whispered to them. "We're here to get you out. Each of you go with one of my clones. They'll lead you to safety." The evacuation began smoothly, with clones escorting hostages toward the extraction point one by one. Naruto himself remained behind to deal with Rogue once she inevitably discovered the operation. He didn't have to wait long. Alerted by the commotion downstairs, Rogue appeared in the corridor, blocking the escape route for the last 2 hostages. "Sorry, Sugar," she said with a confident smirk, "but nobody's leaving this building." "We'll see about that," Naruto replied, dropping into a fighting stance. What followed was a surprisingly enjoyable sparring match. Rogue had clearly been holding back in their training sessions. Here, she fought with fluid grace and considerable strength, her combat style incorporating elements of several martial arts. Naruto matched her move for move, careful to use only taijutsu rather than chakra techniques that might end the fight too quickly. "Not bad," Rogue commented as she narrowly dodged a sweep kick. "But you're pulling your punches." "So are you," Naruto countered, catching her wrist as she aimed a strike at his solar plexus. Scott said precision, not knockout blows. They grappled briefly, ending with Rogue pinned against the wall, Naruto's forearm across her collarbone. Their faces were inches apart, both breathing hard from exertion. "Gotcha," Naruto said with a grin. "You sure about that?" Rogue replied. Before Naruto could react, she hooked her leg behind his knee and pushed forward, reversing their positions. Now Naruto was the one pinned, Rogue's body pressed against his. Never underestimate your opponent. Something shifted in the air between them, the playful combat giving way to awareness of their proximity, the contact of their bodies. Naruto could feel Rogue's heartbeat, slightly elevated from the fight, and the warmth of her breath against his face. For a moment, neither moved. Then, slowly, deliberately, Rogue leaned closer, her lips barely an inch from his. "This isn't part of the simulation," Naruto murmured, not pulling away. "No," Rogue agreed softly, "it isn't." The moment stretched, electric with possibility. Then, just as the distance between them began to close, an alarm blared throughout the building. "Simulation override," came Xavier's voice over the intercom. "All X-Men report to the war room immediately. This is not a drill." The simulated environment dissolved around them, leaving Naruto and Rogue standing in the metallic danger room, still close but the moment irrevocably broken. "Perfect timing," Rogue muttered, stepping back and adjusting her uniform. "Rain check?" Naruto suggested, trying to lighten the suddenly awkward atmosphere. A small smile touched Rogue's lips. "Rain check." They joined the others rushing toward the war room, professional demeanor sliding back into place despite the lingering awareness between them. The war room was already filled with X-Men when they arrived. Xavier sat at the head of the table, his expression grave. Holographic displays showed news footage of what appeared to be an attack in progress in downtown New York. 15 minutes ago, a group calling themselves the Mutant Liberation Front began an assault on the United Nations building during a special session on mutant affairs, Xavier explained without preamble. "They've taken hostages and are threatening to execute them unless their demands are met." "What demands?" Scott asked. "The immediate release of all mutants held in government facilities, disbanding of the Sentinel program, and international recognition of mutant sovereign territory." Xavier's expression was grim. Demands designed to be rejected, giving them justification for violence. Do we know who's leading them? Logan asked. That's the concerning part, Xavier replied. Initial reports suggested strife. Naruto tensed. The guy I fought here? That's impossible. I sent him, somewhere else. Apparently, somewhere else wasn't far enough, Logan growled. However, Xavier continued, more recent footage shows it isn't Strife himself, but someone using similar technology and methods. Possibly a disciple or associate. Either way, it's clearly connected to our recent visitor, Jean said. And possibly to Naruto's presence here. All eyes turned to Naruto. You think they're trying to draw me out? He asked. It seems likely, Xavier agreed. The attack began shortly after news networks showed footage of unexplained, fiery phenomena, in the city, almost certainly your Phoenix manifestations during training. Footage played on the screens, shaky cell phone video of fiery wings briefly visible over the mansion during one of Naruto's more intense training sessions. Great, Naruto muttered. So people know the Phoenix is back, and these guys are using it to justify terrorism. Which puts us in a difficult position, Scott said. We can't ignore the attack, but sending you into the field might be giving them exactly what they want. I'm not staying behind while you risk yourselves in what's basically my fight, Naruto stated firmly. Besides, if they're using tech similar to Strife's, you might need the Phoenix to counter it. Xavier studied him thoughtfully. Your presence does indeed provide tactical advantages. But it also escalates the risk. If the Phoenix manifests fully in the middle of Manhattan. It won't, Naruto promised. I've been training non-stop for weeks. I can control it now, especially in combat situations. I'll go with him, Rogue volunteered. If something starts to slip, I can help ground him. Xavier looked between them, then nodded slowly. Very well. But extreme caution is paramount. The world is watching, and this will be many people's first impression of you, Naruto. No pressure, Naruto muttered. Cyclops will lead the operation, Xavier continued. Storm, Jean, Beast, Wolverine, Rogue, and Naruto, suit up and be ready to depart in 5 minutes. Iceman and Colossus, remain on standby. As they dispersed to prepare, Jean caught up to Naruto in the hallway. A word of advice, she said quietly. The Phoenix feeds on conflict and destruction. Combat situations naturally amplify its power and influence. Be especially vigilant about maintaining your own perspective. I will, Naruto assured her. Kurama and I have a lot of experience keeping our heads in battle. Jean nodded. Just remember, these aren't shinobi you're fighting. They're terrorists using innocent lives as leverage. Different rules apply. Understood. No killing, minimal damage, focus on hostage safety. Naruto grinned. I can do subtle when I need to. Jean raised an eyebrow skeptically. Okay, maybe not subtle, Naruto amended. But controlled. I can definitely do controlled. 5 minutes later, the team assembled at the Blackbird, the X-Men's advanced jet. Naruto had seen it before but never flown in it. He eyed the sleek aircraft with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. First time flying? Rogue asked, noticing his expression as they boarded. In a machine, yeah, Naruto replied. We usually travel by foot where I'm from. Occasionally teleportation jutsu, but that's rare. Strap in tight, she advised. Storm's piloting today, which means it might get bumpy. The flight to Manhattan took less than 15 minutes, but it was long enough for Scott to brief them thoroughly on the approach. Satellite imagery showed the terrorists had established control of 3 floors in the UN building, with hostages concentrated in the General Assembly Hall. Priority 1 is securing the hostages, Scott emphasized. Priority 2 is capturing the leadership for questioning. Everything else is secondary. The Blackbird set down on the roof of a nearby building. Police had established a perimeter, but were maintaining distance after initial attempts to breach had been met with advanced energy weapons. "Let's move," Scott ordered as they disembarked. "Jean, psychic scan of the building." Jean closed her eyes, concentrating. "I'm counting approximately 20 hostiles, heavily armed. 53 hostages in the main assembly hall, more scattered throughout the building. The leader is difficult to read. Their mind has shields similar to what I encountered with Strife." "Any demands for negotiation?" Beast asked. "They've given authorities 1 hour to begin releasing mutant prisoners," Scott replied, checking the tactical display on his wrist. "That was 40 minutes ago. So we have 20 minutes before they start executing hostages," Logan concluded grimly. "Let's not waste time." They made their way down to street level, where police immediately recognized and approached them. X-Men, a senior officer greeted them with evident relief. "Thank God. These guys have tech we've never seen before. Energy shields, weapons that can melt through concrete." "We'll handle it," Scott assured him. "But I need your people to maintain the perimeter and be ready to receive hostages." With the police coordinated, the team approached the UN building. Scott outlined their entry points. Storm and Jean would create a diversion at the main entrance while Beast, Logan, and Scott infiltrated through service areas. Naruto and Rogue would enter through the upper floors and work their way down. "Remember," Scott said to Naruto, "restraint is critical. This is a hostage situation in the most politically sensitive building in New York." "Got it. Shadow clone rescue operation, minimal fireworks." Naruto formed the familiar hand sign, creating a dozen clones. "Ready when you are." At Scott's signal, the operation began. Storm summoned localized thunder and lightning that drew attention to the main entrance, where Jean used telekinetic bursts to create the impression of a frontal assault. Meanwhile, Naruto and Rogue scaled the building using suction cups Beast had provided, reaching an unguarded window on the 15th floor. 20 seconds until security system bypass, Rogue murmured, checking her wrist device. "Then we'll have a clean entry." Naruto nodded, focusing on keeping his chakra steady and the phoenix quiet. The anticipation of battle always stirred both entities, but so far, they remained manageable. Once inside, they moved silently through empty office corridors. Naruto sent clones ahead as scouts, using their shared vision to map the terrorist positions. 2 guards at the stairwell, he reported. "For more patrolling this floor. All armed with those energy weapons. Can your clones handle them without alerting the others?" Rogue asked. Naruto grinned. "Watch and learn." His clones moved with shinobi precision, neutralizing the guards with swift, silent takedowns. No flashy jutsu, just efficient combat techniques that left the terrorists unconscious before they could radio for help. "Impressive," Rogue commented as they stepped over the bound guards. "Very different from how most of us fight." "Shinobi 101, Naruto replied. "Sometimes the quietest approach is best." They made their way down to the 14th floor, where according to Jean's mental map, a group of hostages was being held in a conference room. 4 guards stood outside the door, alert and nervous. "I'll create a distraction," Rogue whispered. "You free the hostages." Before Naruto could respond, she had already slipped away, moving toward the opposite end of the corridor. Moments later, a crash sounded from around the corner, drawing the attention of 2 guards who moved to investigate. With the guard force halved, Naruto easily neutralized the remaining 2 with quick strikes to pressure points, a technique Hinata had taught him years ago. Within seconds, he had the conference room door open and was facing 20 terrified diplomats. "It's okay," he assured them in a low voice. "I'm with the X-Men. We're getting you out." Several looked skeptical, eyeing his unfamiliar appearance. "X-Men," one whispered. "You're not one I recognize." "New addition," Naruto replied with a reassuring smile. "The name's Naruto." Now, I need you all to stay quiet and follow my clones. He created 10 shadow clones, assigning 2 hostages to each. They'll lead you to the extraction point where police are waiting. Don't stop for anything. As the clones escorted the hostages toward the secure stairwell, Naruto went to find Rogue. He discovered her efficiently dispatching the 2 guards she had lured away, her combat moves a fluid blend of styles. Hostages secure, she asked, zip-tying the unconscious terrorists. On their way out. Let's move to the main event. They proceeded downward, coordinating with Scott's team via communicators. The other X-Men had encountered heavier resistance but were making steady progress. The main challenge remained the General Assembly Hall, where most hostages were held along with the terrorist leadership. We're approaching the hall from the west corridor, Scott's voice came through their earpieces. Jean says the leader is on the podium, surrounded by some kind of energy field. Roger that, Rogue replied. We're coming in from the north. ETA 2 minutes. As they neared the massive doors leading to the assembly hall, Naruto felt a familiar stirring, not the Phoenix this time, but Kurama, growing alert. Kit, something's wrong, the fox warned. I sense a familiar energy. Not exactly like Strife's, but related. Kurama says we might have a problem, Naruto whispered to Rogue. The leader's energy signature feels familiar to him. Could it be someone else from your world? Rogue asked, immediately grasping the implication. I don't know. But if the Phoenix could bring me here. They reached the doors to the assembly hall, pausing to assess the situation through a small window. Inside, dozens of diplomats sat terrified in their designated seats while armed terrorists patrolled the aisles. On the main podium stood a figure in ornate armor similar to Strife's, but smaller, more streamlined, and deep purple rather than silver. That's definitely not Strife, Naruto murmured. But the tech looks the same. In position, came Scott's voice over the comm, on my mark. 3, 2, 1, now. Multiple events happened simultaneously. Scott's optic blast took out the main doors while Jean created a telekinetic shield around the nearest hostages. Logan and Beast engaged the terrorists on the floor level, moving with coordinated precision that suggested years of practice together. Storm flew in through a skylight, summoning controlled winds that disarmed several hostiles at once. Naruto and Rogue burst through their door, immediately drawing fire from terrorists on their side of the hall. Naruto created a wall of shadow clones that absorbed the energy blasts while Rogue outflanked the attackers, disabling their weapons with well-placed strikes. Throughout it all, the armored figure on the podium remained motionless, observing the battle with calculated interest. Get the hostages out. Scott ordered as his team secured the main floor. Naruto's clones moved through the assembly hall, guiding diplomats toward the exits while the X-Men engaged the remaining terrorists. The operation was proceeding smoothly, too smoothly, a part of Naruto realized. The leader hadn't even attempted to stop them or threaten the hostages. It's a trap, Naruto said suddenly. They wanted us here. Wanted me here. As if on cue, the armored figure finally moved, raising a hand. A pulse of energy spread through the room, and every terrorist still standing collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Very perceptive, Naruto Uzumaki, the figure said, voice distorted by the helmet but distinctly feminine. Though a bit late. The X-Men regrouped, forming a protective semicircle around the remaining hostages. Naruto stepped forward, keeping just enough distance to react if needed. Who are you? He demanded. And how do you know who I am? I am Hope, the figure replied, removing her helmet to reveal a young woman with striking red hair and intense eyes. And I know you because I've seen you through the Phoenix's eyes. Jean gasped softly behind him. Hope Summers, she whispered. But how? Not the Hope you know, the woman corrected. A Hope from a timeline where strife succeeded. Where the Phoenix was captured, tortured, broken into a weapon. So you're from the future? Naruto asked skeptically. An alternate future, Hope clarified. One I'm trying to prevent. That's why I need you, Naruto Uzumaki, the unprecedented host, containing both the phoenix and a chakra entity. Inside him, both Kurama and the phoenix stirred with recognition and warning. Be careful, Kit, Kurama growled. She has fragments of phoenix energy within her. Corrupted, twisted. What do you want from me? Naruto asked, though he suspected he already knew. Hope smiled, the expression not reaching her eyes. I want to save the multiverse. And you're the key. This was never about the hostages or mutant prisoners, Scott realized. It was all to draw us out. To draw Naruto out. The hostages were always going to be released, Hope confirmed. I'm not a monster. But I needed a stage, and the attention of the world. What comes next must be witnessed. She raised her hand again, and this time energy crackled around her fingers, forming complex patterns that reminded Naruto of sealing jutsu. The phoenix chose you because you can stabilize it like no other host, Hope continued. But that stability is exactly what I need to extract it without destroying the vessel. Not gonna happen, Naruto replied, dropping into a combat stance. The phoenix and I have an arrangement, and it doesn't include being extracted by future terrorists. Hope sighed. I expected resistance. That's why I prepared this. The energy around her hand coalesced into a shimmering disk that expanded outward, forming a translucent dome that enclosed her, Naruto, and the podium area. A containment field, Beast exclaimed as Scott's optic blast dissipated harmlessly against it. It's isolating them from external interference. Inside the dome, Hope approached Naruto, her movements fluid and confident. This can be painless, or it can be excruciating. Your choice. I'll go with option 3, Naruto replied, forming a Rasengan in his palm. You leave empty-handed. He lunged forward, the spiraling sphere of chakra aimed directly at Hope's chest. She sidestepped with inhuman speed, her hand catching Naruto's wrist and redirecting his momentum. The contact sent a jolt of pain through his arm as she somehow disrupted his chakra flow. I know all your techniques, Hope said calmly. I've studied every record of your battles in this timeline. Naruto created shadow clones that attacked from multiple angles, but Hope moved between them with practiced ease, countering each with precise strikes that dispelled them instantly. Impressive speed, Naruto acknowledged, creating more distance between them. But you're not the only one who can adapt. He closed his eyes briefly, reaching inward to where Kurama waited. Ready for a tag team? Always, Kit, the fox replied with savage anticipation. Red chakra enveloped Naruto, forming the familiar cloak with fox-like ears and tail. His features sharpened, eyes turning red with slitted pupils, nails extending into claws. Hope's eyes widened slightly, the first genuine reaction she'd shown. The Nine-Tails chakra. Fascinating to see it in person. Let's see how well you studied this, Naruto growled, his voice deeper with Kurama's influence. He moved with enhanced speed, the chakra cloak leaving a red streak in the air as he zigzagged around Hope. This time, her counters were less effective. Kurama's chakra resisted her disruption technique, allowing Naruto to land glancing blows that cracked her armor. Outside the dome, the X-Men watched with a mixture of concern and awe as Naruto unleashed abilities they'd only seen glimpses of before. Jean attempted to breach the containment field telepathically while Beast and Cyclops sought physical weaknesses in the structure. That energy he's using, it's not the Phoenix, Rogue observed. It's the Fox thing, right? Yes, Jean confirmed. And it's incredibly powerful in its own right. But if Hope truly understands the Phoenix as she claims. Inside the dome, the battle intensified. Hope produced weapons from her armor, energy blades that she wielded with deadly precision. Naruto countered with chakra arms extending from his cloak, creating a whirling defense that kept her at bay. You're holding back the Phoenix, Hope noted as they clashed. Why? It's your greatest weapon. Because it's not a weapon, Naruto replied. It's a living entity with its own will. And right now, it's choosing not to fight you. Hope frowned. Impossible. The Phoenix responds to threat and opportunity. It should be raging to break free. Maybe your understanding isn't as complete as you think, Naruto suggested, landing a solid hit that sent Hope skidding backward. Maybe the Phoenix you knew was nothing like the real thing. Anger flashed across Hope's face. I've carried pieces of the Phoenix inside me for years. I know its nature better than anyone. Pieces, Naruto emphasized. Fragments. Not the whole. He pressed his advantage, increasing the intensity of his assault. Hope defended well but was clearly surprised by the ferocity and unpredictability of Kurama's chakra. Her armor cracked further, revealing glimpses of a form-fitting undersuit embedded with technology. Enough games, Hope snarled. She raised both hands, and the pieces of Phoenix energy within her flared to life, surrounding her in a pale imitation of the fiery bird. Inside Naruto, the true Phoenix stirred, responding to the corrupted fragments of itself. Abomination, it resonated within Naruto's mind. She carries my broken children, twisted against their nature. Let me handle this, Naruto told both entities, maintaining his focus on the external battle. Hope launched a barrage of fiery projectiles that Naruto dodged and deflected with chakra arms. The attacks were powerful but lacked the cosmic quality of true Phoenix fire. They were more like weapons powered by Phoenix energy than manifestations of the entity itself. You claim to want to save the multiverse, Naruto called to her as they exchanged blows. But all I see is someone trying to steal power they don't understand. You don't know what's coming. Hope shouted, genuine emotion breaking through her controlled demeanor. The Phoenix must be properly directed, or everything ends. All realities, all possibilities, consumed when the boundaries collapse. And you think you can control it better than it can control itself? Naruto countered, creating an opening in her defense and landing a powerful strike to her midsection. Hope staggered, her makeshift Phoenix aura flickering. Not control, guide. The Phoenix alone doesn't understand the consequences of its actions across the multiverse. Outside the dome, Beast's instruments detected fluctuations in the containment field. It's destabilizing, he reported. Their energies are disrupting the molecular structure. Can we break through? Scott demanded. Not directly, but... Beast made rapid calculations on his device. Rogue, if you could disrupt this junction point with a precise application of force, it might create a temporary breach. Rogue nodded, moving to the indicated position. Just say when. Inside, the battle reached a critical point. Hope, realizing her standard tactics weren't working, activated a device on her armor's chest plate. It pulsed with energy, creating a resonance that Naruto felt deep within his being. What is that? He demanded, suddenly finding it harder to maintain Kurama's chakra cloak. Phoenix Call, Hope explained, her confidence returning. It speaks directly to the Phoenix force within you, activating its primal instincts. The need to be whole, to reintegrate its scattered pieces. The Phoenix responded violently to the signal, surging within Naruto with an intensity that threatened to overwhelm his control. Fire erupted along his skin, burning through Kurama's chakra cloak and replacing it with wings of flame. Kit, she's forcing the Phoenix to manifest. Kurama warned. Block the signal. Easier said than done. The Phoenix was responding instinctively to the fragments within Hope and the artificial call from her device. Naruto struggled to maintain his sense of self as cosmic awareness tried to overwhelm his human perspective. That's it, Hope encouraged, her expression triumphant. Let it rise. Let it recognize its scattered children. The flames grew higher, forming the unmistakable shape of the Phoenix bird around Naruto. Outside the dome, the X-Men watched in alarm as the containment field began to glow with fiery light. Now, Rogue! Beast shouted. Rogue struck the junction point with all her strength, creating a hairline fracture in the energy field. It wasn't much, but it was enough for her to slip her hand through, reaching toward Naruto. Inside, Naruto fought for control, refusing to surrender to either the Phoenix's cosmic awareness or Hope's manipulation. He reached deep within himself, finding the place where his consciousness intersected with both Kurama and the Phoenix. "I am Naruto Uzumaki," he declared, focusing on his identity. "Shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Host of the Phoenix. But I am myself first." Hope frowned as her device's effect faltered. "Impossible. No one can resist the call. No one." "I'm not resisting it," Naruto corrected, gaining clarity even as the Phoenix fire continued to burn around him. "I'm redirecting it. The Phoenix hears your call, but it answers to me." With a surge of will, Naruto took control of the Phoenix manifestation, shaping it to his purpose rather than letting it consume him. The fiery wings contracted, condensing into a more focused form that enveloped him like armor rather than consuming him like wildfire. "No!" Hope cried, activating additional functions on her device. "Respond to the call. Reunite with your fragments." The Phoenix within Naruto reacted differently than she expected. Instead of reaching toward Hope's fragments, it projected outward, engulfing her completely in true Phoenix fire. Hope screamed, not in pain but in ecstasy and terror combined. The corrupted Phoenix fragments within her responded to the presence of their parent entity, burning away the technology that had contained and corrupted them. "What's happening to me?" she gasped as her armor began to disintegrate, the embedded technology melting away. "The Phoenix is healing its children," Naruto explained, understanding flowing to him from the cosmic entity. "Burning away what twisted them." The containment dome shattered as the Phoenix fire expanded, but Jean quickly raised a telekinetic shield to protect the hostages and other X-Men. Through the breach Rogue had created, she now reached for Naruto, her bare hand finding his arm amidst the flames. The contact was like an anchor in a storm. Rogue's touch provided a physical connection that helped Naruto maintain his sense of self as the Phoenix worked through him. She didn't try to absorb or diminish the power, simply offered human connection amidst cosmic forces. Hope collapsed to her knees as the last of her armor fell away, revealing a young woman in her 20s, physically not much older than Naruto himself. The Phoenix fragments floated free of her body, purified flames that swirled through the air before rejoining the main conflagration around Naruto. "Restoration," the Phoenix communicated, not just to Naruto but to all present. "My children return. The cycle continues." With the fragments reabsorbed, the Phoenix fire receded, drawing back into Naruto until only a faint glow remained around his body. He stood, breathing hard but fully in control, facing the now defenseless Hope. "It's over," he said gently. "Whatever you were trying to do, whatever future you were trying to prevent, this wasn't the way." Hope looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "You don't understand. Without the fragments, I can't go back. I can't warn them." "Warn who?" Jean asked, approaching cautiously. "Everyone," Hope whispered. "The Phoenix was our only defense against what's coming. The collapse of the multiverse. The end of all possibilities." Beast knelt beside her, scanning her with a handheld device. "She's human, augmented with technology that's now non-functional. But her cellular structure shows signs of temporal displacement. She really is from the future," Scott realized. "Or a future, anyway." Hope looked around at the X-Men, her expression desperate. "You have to believe me. The boundaries between realities are weakening. Incursions have already begun in my timeline. Without a properly directed Phoenix force, there's no power strong enough to repair them." Xavier had arrived, wheeling through the doors of the assembly hall now that the danger had passed. "We will listen to your warnings, Hope. But taking the Phoenix by force was never going to succeed." "It was the only way I knew," she replied, her shoulders slumping in defeat. "In my world, the Phoenix was a weapon, nothing more. I never realized, never understood it was something more." Naruto approached her, the glow around him dimming to nearly nothing. "The Phoenix isn't a tool to be used. Neither is Kurama. They're partners, if you earn their trust. Hope looked up at him, studying his face. You've done something no one in my timeline thought possible. You've harmonized with the Phoenix without being consumed by it. That's why the Phoenix chose him, Jean said, understanding dawning in her eyes. Not just because he could contain it, but because he could relate to it. He already understood what it meant to share his existence with another powerful entity. Xavier moved closer. Hope, we will help you if we can. But first, we need to understand exactly what threat you believe is coming. Not believe, Hope corrected bitterly. No. I've seen it happen. Realities colliding, universes dying. It starts with small incursions, people, objects appearing where they shouldn't be. Naruto felt a chill run through him. Like me. I appeared in this world without warning. Hope's eyes widened. The Phoenix brought you here? Yes, Naruto confirmed. From another reality entirely. Then it's already starting, Hope whispered, horror in her voice. The Phoenix sensed the coming collapse and sought out the perfect vessel, bringing you across realities to prepare. Or, Xavier suggested more optimistically, the Phoenix is already acting to prevent what you fear. Not through force or control, but through partnership with Naruto. The implications hung heavy in the air. If Hope was right, Naruto's presence wasn't random or isolated, it was part of something much larger, a cosmic response to a multiversal threat. We should continue this discussion somewhere more private, Scott suggested, gesturing to the curious police and emergency personnel now entering the hall. The situation here is under control. Agreed, Xavier said. Beast, secure any remaining technology from Hope's armor for analysis. Jean, please ensure the authorities understand the threat has been neutralized. As the X-Men organized the aftermath, Rogue stepped closer to Naruto, her expression concerned. You okay? That was intense. Naruto managed a tired smile. Yeah. The Phoenix is calmer now that it's reabsorbed those fragments. Like recovering lost pieces of itself. And what Hope said about the multiverse collapsing? I don't know, Naruto admitted. But if it's true, then maybe me being here isn't as random as we thought. Rogue's hand found his, their fingers intertwining naturally. Nothing about you has ever seemed random to me. The simple touch centered him, bringing him fully back to the present moment after the cosmic awareness the Phoenix had briefly shared. Whatever might be coming, whatever role he might play in it, this connection, to Rogue, to the X-Men, to this world, felt increasingly important. Come on, Rogue said, tugging gently at his hand. Let's go home. Home. The word resonated in a way Naruto hadn't expected. Konoha would always be his first home, the place that shaped him. But here, among these people, he was finding something new, a different kind of belonging, no less real for being unexpected. As they headed toward the exit, Naruto felt both Kurama and the Phoenix settling into a strange new equilibrium within him. The conflict wasn't over, not the immediate one with Hope, not the potential multiversal crisis she warned about, and certainly not his own journey to understanding his unique position. But for now, going home with his new allies, his new friends, was enough. Chapter 3, Phoenix Rising. 3 days after the UN incident, Naruto bolted upright in bed, sweat-soaked and gasping. The room glowed with flickering orange light as phoenix flames danced across his skin. But this time, the dream hadn't been about destruction. I saw them, he whispered to the empty room. They were looking for me. He'd seen Konoha, not burning or destroyed, but very much alive. Sakura, Kakashi, Tsunade, and others gathered around a table covered with scrolls, discussing theories about his disappearance. He tried to call out to them, but his voice hadn't carried across the dimensional barrier. Naruto jumped out of bed, too wired to go back to sleep. The clock read 3:17 a.m. The mansion would be quiet, most residents fast asleep. Perfect time for some peace and quiet to process what he'd seen. He slipped silently through the darkened hallways, making his way to the kitchen. To his surprise, a light was already on, and Jean sat at the counter, nursing a cup of tea and reading from a tablet. "Can't sleep either?" Naruto asked. Jean looked up, unsurprised by his appearance. Telepaths rarely get uninterrupted rest. Too many dreaming minds broadcasting their subconscious. "That sounds awful," Naruto said, grabbing a glass of water. "You get used to it," Jean replied with a small smile. "What's your excuse?" "Vision. Not a nightmare this time." Naruto leaned against the counter. "I saw Konoha. My friend's searching for me." Jean set down her tablet, giving him her full attention. "The Phoenix showing you your home world?" "Yeah. It was so clear, like I was standing right there with them, but they couldn't see or hear me." Naruto sipped his water. "Beast said the Phoenix might be reaching across dimensions in my dreams. He mentioned his theory to me," Jean confirmed. "It's possible. The Phoenix exists simultaneously across multiple realities. It might be creating bridges through your subconscious. So they're not just dreams. My friends are actually trying to find me." "It's possible. But Naruto." Jean's expression grew concerned. "After what Hope revealed about multiversal instability, we need to be cautious about dimensional breaches, even small ones." Naruto frowned. "You think my connection to Konoha could be dangerous?" "Not inherently. But if Hope is right about incursions between realities becoming more frequent and destructive, any dimensional thinning could potentially accelerate the problem." Naruto set his glass down harder than intended. "So I'm just supposed to cut myself off from my home? My precious people. Accept that I'm stuck here forever?" "That's not what I'm saying," Jean replied gently. "We need to understand what's happening before attempting any cross-dimensional communication. The professor is consulting with colleagues who have experience with other dimensions, Dr. Strange, Reed Richards. We'll find answers." Naruto sighed, his anger deflating. "Sorry. I miss them." "Of course you do," Jean said. "And we'll do everything we can to help. Just be careful with those visions for now." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "How are you adjusting otherwise?" Jean finally asked. "It's been a whirlwind few weeks." Naruto considered the question. "Better than I expected, honestly. The training helps. Having a purpose helps." He paused. "And the people here, you guys remind me of home in some ways." Jean smiled. "The X-Men have always been good at creating family from strays and outcasts." "I noticed," Naruto said, returning her smile. "Is that why you all took me in so quickly? Professional courtesy to another outcast?" "Partly," Jean admitted. "But also because you're genuinely likable, Naruto. Your enthusiasm, your determination to protect others, your ability to keep smiling despite everything you've been through, it's infectious." "Now you sound like Iruka-sensei," Naruto laughed. "He was always finding the bright side of my troublemaking." "Tell me about him," Jean encouraged. "About all of them. Your precious people." So Naruto did. As the night deepened around them, he shared stories of Konoha, Iruka's patience, Kakashi's lazy brilliance, Sakura's fiery determination, Sasuke's complicated journey, Tsunade's tough love, and so many others who had shaped him into who he was. Jean listened attentively, occasionally asking questions that suggested genuine interest rather than mere politeness. When Naruto spoke of his parents and their sacrifice, her eyes grew damp. "They would be proud of who you've become," she said softly. "I hope so," Naruto replied. "Sometimes I worry I've abandoned everything they fought for by ending up here." "You haven't abandoned anything," Jean assured him. "You're continuing their legacy in a new context. Protecting people, fighting for peace, building bonds, those values transcend worlds." Dawn was breaking by the time they finished talking. The first rays of sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows, painting the room in warm gold. I should probably try to get some sleep before training, Naruto said, stifling a yawn. Probably, Jean agreed, standing and gathering her things. But first, I want to show you something. She led him through the mansion to a side door that opened onto a small, secluded garden Naruto hadn't seen before. In the center stood a memorial stone, not unlike the one in Konoha that bore the names of fallen shinobi. This is where we remember X-Men who have fallen, Jean explained. Friends, family, comrades who gave their lives protecting their ideals. Naruto approached the stone reverently, reading the names etched into its surface. I come here when I need perspective, Jean continued. When I need to remember that what we do matters, even when it feels hopeless or thankless. We had a stone like this in Konoha, Naruto said quietly. My father's name was on it. My mother's too. Then you understand, Jean said, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. Different worlds, same heart. The simple gesture and profound truth behind her words touched something deep in Naruto. The homesickness that had been building since his vision ebbed slightly, replaced by a sense of connection to this new place, these new people. Thank you, he said sincerely. For listening. For understanding. Anytime, Jean replied with a warm smile. That's what family does. Later that morning, Naruto stood in the center of the danger room, surrounded by simulated woodland. Beast had designed the program to mimic the forests around Konoha as closely as possible based on Naruto's descriptions, creating a training environment that felt almost like home. Ready? Rogue asked from the edge of the clearing. She wore her training uniform, a form-fitting green and yellow bodysuit with a brown jacket over it. Born ready, Naruto replied with a grin, dropping into a fighting stance. They had been training together regularly since Naruto's arrival, developing a fighting style that incorporated both her X-Men training and his shinobi techniques. Today's session focused on teamwork against multiple opponents, simulated sentinels programmed to adapt to their strategies. The first sentinel emerged from the trees, its towering purple and black form incongruous in the forest setting. Naruto and Rogue moved in perfect synchronization, having developed an almost telepathic awareness of each other's movements over weeks of training. Rogue went low, targeting the sentinel's knee joints while Naruto created shadow clones that attacked from multiple angles. The robot adjusted quickly, switching to area effect defenses that dispelled several clones at once. Pattern shift. Rogue called as more sentinels appeared. Naruto nodded, implementing their pre-planned strategy. He channeled a controlled amount of Phoenix energy, just enough to enhance his speed and strength without triggering a full manifestation. The fiery glow surrounded him as he launched himself at the lead sentinel, driving a Rasengan into its chest plate. Meanwhile, Rogue employed the taijutsu techniques Naruto had taught her, moving with fluid grace to avoid energy blasts while systematically disabling the second sentinel's weapons. Her fighting style had evolved significantly, incorporating shinobi principles of efficiency and misdirection into her already formidable skills. Behind you. Naruto warned as a third sentinel targeted Rogue with a capture net. She rolled smoothly out of the way, her movements so precisely timed that she avoided the net by millimeters. Thanks for the heads up. Working together, they dispatched the remaining sentinels, their teamwork flawless despite the increasing difficulty as the simulation adapted to their tactics. When the final sentinel fell, Naruto and Rogue stood back to back in the center of the clearing, breathing hard but exhilarated. Simulation complete, announced the danger room's computerized voice. Level 8 achieved. New team efficiency record established. Level 8. Rogue said, impressed. That's higher than my usual rating with Scott or Logan. We make a good team, Naruto replied, letting the Phoenix energy dissipate completely. He turned to face her, unable to keep the pride from his voice. Your taijutsu is getting really good. I had a great teacher, Rogue said with a smile. She reached up to brush a leaf from his hair, her bare fingers lingering for a moment against his temple. And a rare opportunity to practice without worrying about accidentally putting my sparring partner in a coma. The casual touch sent a pleasant warmth through Naruto that had nothing to do with the phoenix. These moments of easy physical contact clearly meant as much to Rogue as they did to him, simple gestures that would be unremarkable with anyone else, but were precious between them. "We should cool down," Naruto suggested, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. "Beast will have my head if I strain something before the tests this afternoon." Rogue nodded, stepping back slightly. "Right. Tests. How are you feeling about those?" They began stretching, moving through the cool-down routine they'd established. "Nervous," Naruto admitted. "Beast says they need to establish baseline readings for when Kurama and the Phoenix are working together, but deliberately trying to synchronize them still feels risky." "That's why I'll be there," Rogue reminded him. "Emergency off switch, remember?" Naruto smiled gratefully. Best safety net a guy could ask for. They completed their stretches in companionable silence. As they prepared to leave the danger room, Rogue hesitated. "Naruto, about what happened during the simulation at the UN." He knew immediately what she meant, the almost kiss, interrupted by the emergency call. "Yeah," he prompted when she didn't continue. Rogue looked uncharacteristically uncertain. "I just wanted to say, it wasn't just the heat of the moment. For me." Naruto's heart rate picked up. "It wasn't for me either." "Good," she said, a small smile playing at her lips. "That's good." They stood looking at each other, the air charged with possibility. Naruto took a half-step closer. "Attention all senior X-Men," Xavier's voice came through the intercom, breaking the moment. "Please report to the war room immediately. We have a situation developing." Rogue sighed, a mixture of frustration and amusement in her expression. "Rain check. Again. One of these days," Naruto promised, "we won't get interrupted." "I'm counting on it," Rogue replied, the look in her eyes making Naruto's pulse quicken. The war room was already filled with X-Men when they arrived. Xavier sat at the head of the table, his expression grave. Beside him, Beast operated a complex holographic display showing what appeared to be energy readings from various locations around the globe. "Thank you for coming quickly," Xavier began as Naruto and Rogue took their seats. "We've been monitoring unusual energy signatures since Hope's warnings about multiversal instabilities. In the past 6 hours, these readings have intensified dramatically." Beast adjusted the display to show a world map with glowing points of light scattered across it. "Each of these locations is experiencing what we believe to be a dimensional thinning, areas where the barriers between realities are becoming temporarily permeable." "Like what brought me here?" Naruto asked. "Similar, but less stable," Beast confirmed. "These aren't controlled transitions but random fluctuations. And they're increasing in both frequency and intensity." "Have there been any actual breaches?" Scott asked. 3 confirmed incidents, Xavier replied. A building in London that appeared overnight, containing architecture and technology from what witnesses described as the distant future. A small village in rural China where residents report medieval European knights wandering confused through their streets. And most concerning, a crater in Brazil where the laws of physics themselves seem altered. "Hope warned this would happen," Jean said quietly. "The beginning of incursions between realities." "What's causing it?" Logan demanded. "And more importantly, how do we stop it?" Beast brought up another display showing complex energy patterns. "The cause appears to be a cascade effect originating from multiple realities simultaneously. As if the boundaries between dimensions are wearing thin across the entire multiverse." "Can it be repaired?" Storm asked. "Theoretically, yes," Beast replied. "But it would require an enormous amount of energy, applied with incredible precision across multiple dimensional boundaries simultaneously." All eyes turned to Naruto. "The Phoenix," he realized. "That's why it brought me here. It knew this was coming. Combined with your unique chakra system and Kurama's power, the Phoenix in you might be able to address these breaches," Xavier confirmed. Which is why the synchronicity tests we had planned for today have taken on new urgency. Wait, Rogue interjected, concern evident in her voice. You're not suggesting Naruto try to fix the entire multiverse by himself? That's insane. Not by himself, Jean clarified. I can help channel the Phoenix energy. I still have a connection to it, even though I'm not its host anymore. And I can provide psychic guidance, Xavier added. Helping direct the power to where it's needed most. Naruto nodded, absorbing this. What about Kurama? His cooperation is essential for this to work. Perhaps it's time we spoke directly with him, Xavier suggested. If you're willing to allow me telepathic access to your mindscape. Naruto hesitated only briefly. If Kurama agrees. He's particular about visitors. Of course, Xavier said. It would be at his discretion. There's something else, Beast interjected, bringing up new data on the display. One of the dimensional thinning points is exhibiting energy signatures remarkably similar to those we recorded during your arrival, Naruto. It's possible this particular breach leads to your home world. Naruto's heart leapt. Where? Northern Japan. A remote mountain region. How long until these breaches become dangerous? Scott asked, bringing the conversation back to the immediate threat. They already are, Beast replied grimly. The Brazil anomaly has expanded 300% since discovery. At current rates, these breaches will begin causing catastrophic damage within 48 hours. Xavier looked around the table. We need to move quickly. Jean, Naruto, Beast, prepare for the synchronicity testing immediately. Scott, assemble teams to monitor the largest breach points. We need real-time data as this progresses. What about the breach that might lead to Naruto's world? Rogue asked. Shouldn't we investigate that specifically? Yes, Xavier agreed. Storm, would you lead a small team to the Japan location? Observe only, no interaction unless absolutely necessary. I should go with them, Naruto said immediately. Xavier shook his head. I understand your desire to investigate this breach, but your presence here is crucial. If the synchronicity testing succeeds, you may be the only one capable of stabilizing these dimensional rifts. But, Naruto began to protest. I'll go, Rogue interrupted, placing a hand on his arm. I'll be your eyes and ears. If it really is a portal to your world, I promise we'll find a way to let you know. Naruto looked at her, conflict evident in his expression. You'd do that for me? Of course I would, she replied softly. Wouldn't you do the same for me? Their eyes held for a moment before Naruto nodded. Thank you. It's settled then, Xavier concluded. Let's move quickly, people. Time is of the essence. As the meeting broke up, Jean approached Naruto. We should begin preparation for the synchronicity testing. Beast has set up specialized equipment in the medical bay. Naruto nodded, though his thoughts were clearly still with the Japan breach. As they walked, Jean studied him thoughtfully. You care about her a great deal, she observed. Who? Naruto asked, though he knew exactly who she meant. Jean gave him a knowing look. Rogue isn't just going to Japan to investigate a breach. She's going because she knows how much it means to you. That's a special kind of caring. Yeah, Naruto admitted. It is. For what it's worth, Jean added, I think what you two have is beautiful. The ability to touch someone without fear, to truly connect, Rogue has been deprived of that for so long. It's not just about being able to touch her, Naruto said. It's everything about her. Her strength, her humor, the way she never gives up despite everything she's been through. She reminds me of myself in some ways, but she's so much more. Jean smiled. You should tell her that sometime. When the world isn't ending, preferably. If we survive this, I will, Naruto promised. The medical bay had been transformed into a high-tech testing facility. Complex machines surrounded a central platform where Naruto was to stand during the procedure. Beast moved efficiently between various consoles, making final adjustments. The setup is designed to monitor and analyze the interaction between your chakra, Kurama's energy, and the Phoenix Force, he explained as Naruto entered. The containment field will help prevent any unintended energy discharges. So I'm supposed to what? Just call up both powers at once? Naruto asked skeptically. Not exactly, Beast replied. We'll attempt a graduated approach. First establishing baseline readings for each energy signature individually, then progressing to controlled synchronization. Xavier wheeled in, followed by Jean. Before we begin, I believe a direct conversation with Kurama would be beneficial, if you're both amenable. Naruto nodded. Let me check with him. He closed his eyes, diving into his mindscape where Kurama waited in his modified cage. The Ninetales lay curled in his usual pose, one massive eye open and watching as Naruto approached. I heard everything through your senses, Kit, Kurama rumbled. The professor wants a chat. You okay with that? Naruto asked. He's trustworthy, but it's your space too. Kurama considered this. He may enter. But only him, and only briefly. The Phoenix is restless today. I don't want too many visitors disturbing the balance. Naruto opened his eyes. Kurama says you can come in, Professor. Just you, though, and he asks that we keep it brief. Of course, Xavier replied. I'll respect his boundaries. Jean helped position them, Xavier's wheelchair beside the examination table where Naruto lay. The professor placed his fingertips lightly on Naruto's temples. Relax your mind, Xavier instructed. Imagine opening a door to your internal landscape. Naruto did as asked, guiding Xavier's telepathic presence toward his mindscape. He felt a gentle pressure as the professor's consciousness joined his own, and together they stood before Kurama's cage. Remarkable, Xavier said, looking around at the modified sewer system with its mixture of chakra pathways and fiery phoenix elements. Your mind has created quite a complex architecture. Welcome, Charles Xavier, Kurama greeted, his massive form shifting to face them directly. You are the first outsider Naruto has ever willingly brought here. I'm honored, Xavier replied, genuine respect in his voice. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak directly with you. What do you wish to discuss? The dimensional breaches? The synchronization experiments? Both, Xavier confirmed. But primarily, I want to understand your perspective on what's happening. You are an ancient entity with vast experience. Your insights could be invaluable. Kurama seemed pleased by this approach. The dimensional instabilities are concerning. In our world, the boundaries between dimensions were rarely breached except by specific techniques or in places of great spiritual significance. And what are your thoughts on synchronizing with the Phoenix? Is it something you're willing to attempt? The Phoenix and I have reached an understanding, Kurama said carefully. We are different in nature but similar in purpose. Both of us wish to protect our host and the world he inhabits. Xavier nodded thoughtfully. Would you be willing to demonstrate a small degree of synchronization now? It would help us calibrate the equipment for the actual tests. Kurama's massive tails swished thoughtfully. A demonstration is acceptable. But be warned, even small synchronizations generate considerable power. Be prepared. We will be, Xavier promised. He turned to Naruto. Are you ready? Naruto nodded. Let's do this. In the physical world, Beast's instruments registered an immediate change as red chakra began to visibly swirl around Naruto's body. Simultaneously, flickers of phoenix fire appeared, intermingling with the chakra in a dance of red and gold energies. Fascinating, Beast murmured, watching the readings spike. They're harmonizing at a quantum level, creating resonance patterns I've never seen before. Jean watched intently, her own connection to the phoenix allowing her to sense the energies in a way instruments couldn't measure. The Phoenix is responding positively. It's not fighting Kurama's influence. Within his mindscape, Naruto observed as Kurama released a measured amount of chakra, which rose to meet tendrils of phoenix fire descending from above. Where they touched, the energies didn't clash but wove together, creating patterns of extraordinary complexity and beauty. This is merely a fraction of what's possible, Kurama told Xavier. Full synchronization would be exponentially more powerful and more dangerous. Xavier asked. Yes, Kurama admitted. The kit has impressive control, but cosmic forces have their own agendas. Even I cannot predict how a complete merger would manifest. Xavier absorbed this. Thank you for your candor. And for your cooperation. I do not do this for you or your world, Kurama clarified. I do it for Naruto. His well-being is my primary concern. As it is mine, Xavier assured him. I believe we understand each other. With that, Xavier withdrew from Naruto's mindscape, returning to his physical body. Naruto followed, opening his eyes to find Beast excitedly analyzing the data they'd collected. Extraordinary, the blue-furred scientist exclaimed. Even that minor synchronization generated enough energy to potentially stabilize a small dimensional breach. If we could achieve full harmonization. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Jean cautioned. That was a controlled demonstration with Kurama explicitly cooperating. We need to establish protocols for safely managing higher energy levels. Agreed, Xavier said. But the initial results are promising. I believe with proper preparation, Naruto might indeed be capable of addressing these dimensional instabilities. Naruto sat up, feeling strangely energized rather than drained by the demonstration. When do we try the real thing? We need more data first, Beast replied. I'd like to set up monitoring equipment at one of the smaller breaches. See how the energy responds to direct application. The rift in Central Park would be ideal, Jean suggested. It's relatively contained, and close enough that we could return quickly if complications arise. Xavier nodded. Make the arrangements. We'll attempt a field test this evening. As they discussed logistics, Naruto's thoughts drifted to Rogue and the team heading to Japan. If that breach really did connect to his home world, what would they find? Was there a way to stabilize it specifically, to create a permanent passage between worlds? The possibility was both thrilling and terrifying. Naruto. Jean's voice pulled him back to the present. Are you with us? Yeah, sorry. Just thinking about the Japan breach. Jean's expression softened with understanding. Storm and Rogue are the best at reconnaissance. If there's anything to find, they will. I know, Naruto said. It's just hard being here when I could be there, possibly finding a way home. Your friends in Konoha would want you to help save all realities, not just find your way back to them, Jean reminded him gently. From what you've told me about them, they'd understand the choice you're making. Naruto knew she was right. Sakura, Kakashi, all of them, they'd make the same choice in his position. Protecting everyone had to come before personal desires. Let's get this field test ready, he said, renewed determination in his voice. The sooner we figure out how to fix these breaches, the sooner we can focus on specific ones. The Central Park breach manifested as a shimmering distortion in the air, like heat waves rising from hot pavement but moving in unnatural patterns. Beast had established a perimeter around it, placing sensors at regular intervals to monitor any changes. Despite being midday in one of New York's busiest locations, the area was strangely deserted, something about the breach subconsciously repelling ordinary humans. The dimensional thinning appears to be approximately 3 meters in diameter, Beast reported as Naruto, Jean, and Xavier arrived. Energy readings suggest it's a gateway to what Reed Richards would call a pocket dimension, a small reality fragment rather than a full parallel universe. Can you tell what's on the other side? Naruto asked. Not precisely, but the atmospheric composition analysis suggests a habitable environment. Gravity appears similar to Earth standard. Beast adjusted his equipment. The breach has been stable for approximately 6 hours, neither expanding nor contracting significantly. Xavier studied the readings. This makes it an ideal test case. Less urgent than the rapidly expanding breaches, but representative of the phenomenon we're trying to address. Jean turned to Naruto. The plan is straightforward. You'll attempt a controlled synchronization of both energies, directing them toward the breach. I'll help guide the Phoenix aspect, while the professor monitors the overall effect. And if something goes wrong? Naruto asked pragmatically. Beast has developed a containment field that should dampen any excess energy, Xavier explained. And Jean can help separate you from the Phoenix influence if necessary. Not as effective as Rogue's direct approach, Jean admitted, but it should work in an emergency. Naruto nodded, missing Rogue's presence more than he cared to admit. Let's do this. They positioned themselves at the calculated optimal distance from the breach. Beast activated the containment field, a barely visible shimmer in the air surrounding their position. Begin whenever you're ready, Xavier instructed. Start slowly, building the synchronization gradually as we monitor the breach's response. Naruto closed his eyes, centering himself as he had during countless training sessions. He reached first for his own chakra, the familiar blue energy that had been his constant companion since childhood. Then, carefully, he extended his awareness to Kurama. Ready when you are, Kit, the fox confirmed. With practiced precision, Naruto drew on Kurama's chakra, allowing it to flow through his pathways and manifest around his body in a controlled red aura. Once this was stable, he reached deeper, to where the Phoenix force resided in a state of semi-dormancy. Calling upon my power again, vessel, the Phoenix inquired, its mental voice resonating through his consciousness. We need to repair a dimensional breach, Naruto explained. Can you help us? The Phoenix's presence stirred with interest. Dimensional boundaries are within my domain. Show me this breach. Naruto opened his eyes, allowing the Phoenix to see through them. The breach shimmered before him, its unnatural movement more pronounced through the Phoenix's perception. A minor tear, the cosmic entity assessed. Easily mended with proper application of power. That's what we're hoping, Naruto replied. I need you to work with Kurama, like during the demonstration. He felt the Phoenix's attention shift to where Kurama's chakra already surrounded him. The fox and I understand what must be done. Release your control, Naruto. Trust in our harmony. Easier said than done. Releasing control went against everything Naruto had learned about managing Kurama's power, let alone the Phoenix. But both entities had proven trustworthy in their own ways. I'm going to attempt full synchronization, he warned Jean and Xavier. Be ready. Jean nodded, her own Phoenix connection allowing her to sense what was happening. We're with you. Naruto took a deep breath and did something he'd never attempted before. He simultaneously released his controlling influence over both Kurama's chakra and the Phoenix force, while maintaining just enough conscious direction to guide their purpose. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Red chakra and golden fire erupted around him, swirling together in a double helix that reached toward the sky. Where the energies touched, they merged into a new color, a deep, resonant purple that pulsed with power. Energy levels are off the charts. Beast called from his monitoring station. But the pattern is stable. They're actually reinforcing each other. Inside Naruto, the experience was even more intense. Kurama's consciousness expanded, the fox's perceptions overlaying his own. Simultaneously, the Phoenix's cosmic awareness opened to him, vast and ancient, encompassing perspectives that transcended time and space. Together, they created a third awareness, greater than the sum of its parts. Through this merged perception, Naruto could see the breach for what it truly was, not just a tear in space, but a wound in reality itself, leaking vital energy that should have remained contained within its proper dimensional boundary. We see it, the merged consciousness said, using Naruto's voice but resonating with undertones of both Kurama and the Phoenix. The pattern is clear. Jean and Xavier exchanged glances, startled by the transformation. Naruto still looked like himself, but surrounded by the purple-hued energy and speaking with that otherworldly voice, he seemed more avatar than human. "Can you repair it?" Xavier asked. "Yes. Observe." The merged entity extended a hand toward the breach. The purple energy flowed forward, surrounding and penetrating the dimensional tear. To normal perception, it appeared that Naruto was simply directing energy at the anomaly. But through his enhanced awareness, he was actually weaving reality back together, reconnecting quantum threads that had become untethered. The breach responded immediately, its chaotic movements slowing and becoming more ordered. The shimmer began to fade, the distortion diminishing as reality reasserted itself. "It's working," Jean whispered, her own phoenix connection allowing her to partially perceive what was happening. "The dimensional boundaries are reforming." For several minutes, the merged consciousness continued its work, meticulously repairing damage that extended beyond normal perception. Finally, the breach collapsed entirely, leaving nothing but normal park atmosphere. "Breach sealed," Beast confirmed, checking his instruments. Dimensional integrity restored to baseline levels. The purple energy around Naruto gradually receded, separating back into distinct red and gold before being reabsorbed into his body. He swayed slightly as the merged consciousness dissolved, leaving him momentarily disoriented. Jean stepped forward quickly, steadying him. "Easy." That was intense, even from the outside. "How do you feel?" "Like I just experienced creation and destruction simultaneously," Naruto replied, his voice hoarse but his own again. "But it worked. We fixed it." Xavier approached, profound respect in his expression. "You did more than fix it. You demonstrated a level of energy manipulation I've never witnessed before. The synchronization was perfect." "Not me," Naruto clarified. "It was Kurama and the Phoenix working together. I was just the bridge." "A bridge is exactly what we need," Xavier said thoughtfully. "A connection between powers that allows them to work in harmony rather than opposition." Beast joined them, his tablet displaying complex data analyses. "The energy signature you produced could theoretically repair even the largest breaches we've detected. If we can replicate this process at each location, we can stop the incursions before they cause catastrophic damage," Jean finished. Naruto nodded, though exhaustion was evident in his posture. "I can do it again. Just need a little rest first." "More than a little," Jean corrected, noticing how he leaned heavily against her. "That level of power channeling takes a physical toll, even with your enhanced healing abilities." "Jean is right," Xavier agreed. "Return to the mansion and recover your strength. Beast and I will analyze the data and prepare protocols for addressing the remaining breaches." As they headed back toward where they'd parked, Naruto's communicator beeped. He answered quickly, hoping for news from the Japan team. "Naruto?" Rogue's voice came through, distorted by static but recognizably excited. "Can you hear me?" "Barely," he replied. "The connection's not great." "Did you find something?" "It's definitely a breach to another world," she confirmed. "And Naruto, there are people here searching for you. They've set up some kind of, I don't know, energy circle. With symbols I've never seen before." Naruto's heart raced. "Can you describe them?" "The people?" "A woman with pink hair. A man with silver hair wearing some kind of mask. A blonde woman with remarkable assets and a small mark on her forehead." The description was unmistakable. "They keep saying your name." "Sakura, Kakashi, and Tsunade," Naruto whispered, emotion thick in his voice. "They found a way to trace me." "There's more," Rogue continued, the connection weakening further. "The breach is unstable but they're trying to stabilize it from their side. They have some kind of scrolls, ceremonies I don't understand. But Storm thinks they're attempting to create a permanent doorway." "Tell them I'm alive," Naruto urged. "Tell them I'm coming." Somehow, I'll get there. I've tried, but they can't see or hear us, Rogue replied, frustration evident in her voice. It's like we're on different frequencies of reality, occupying the same space but unable to interact. The connection crackled, Rogue's voice fading in and out. Getting worse, breach is fluctuating, have to pull back. Rogue? Rogue! Naruto called, but the communication had ended. Jean placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. They found you, Naruto. They're looking for you. That's something, isn't it? Yeah, he agreed, a complex mixture of emotions washing through him. It's everything. Back at the mansion, Naruto paced restlessly in the kitchen, unable to sit still despite the lingering fatigue from the synchronization. Jean had urged him to rest, but sleep was impossible with the knowledge that his friends were actively searching for him, perhaps even creating a way home. He heard footsteps and turned to find Beast entering, tablet in hand. Ah, I thought I might find you here, Beast said. I've been analyzing the data from both the Central Park breach and the reports from Storm's team in Japan. And? Naruto prompted. The Japan breach is indeed different from the others, Beast confirmed. While most appear to be random weaknesses in dimensional fabric, this one shows signs of deliberate manipulation from the other side. They're trying to reach me, Naruto said. Just like in my vision. Precisely. And they're using techniques that interact with your unique energy signature, specifically designed to locate you. Beast adjusted his glasses. Quite ingenious, actually. They've essentially created a beacon that resonates with your chakra frequency. Naruto leaned forward eagerly. So can I use it to get back? Potentially, Beast replied cautiously. But there are complications. The breach is extremely unstable, fluctuating between active and dormant states. And with the broader multiversal crisis underway. I know, Naruto said, frustration evident in his voice. Saving all realities has to come before my personal journey home. But Beast, these are my people. They're counting on me. I understand, Beast said sympathetically. Which is why I've been developing a hypothesis you might find interesting. He brought up a complex diagram on his tablet, showing energy flows between different points. The synchronization technique you demonstrated today could potentially serve two purposes simultaneously, Beast explained. First, repairing dimensional breaches as intended. But second, if properly calibrated to your home world's frequency, it might establish a stable connection specifically to that reality while sealing off unstable pathways to others. Hope flared in Naruto's chest. You're saying I could fix the multiversal crisis and create a permanent doorway to Konoha? In theory, Beast cautioned. It would require precise application of both Kurama's chakra and the Phoenix Force, guided by your intent and familiarity with your home world's unique energy signature. When can we try? Naruto asked immediately. That's where patience becomes necessary, Beast replied. We need to address the most dangerous breaches first, particularly the Brazil anomaly, which continues to expand at an alarming rate. Once those immediate threats are neutralized, we can attempt your more personal project. Naruto wanted to argue but knew Beast was right. The lives of billions across multiple realities had to take priority over his desire to return home, no matter how powerful that desire might be. How long? He asked instead. If all goes well with the major breaches, perhaps 36 to 48 hours before we could attempt the Konoha connection. Beast's expression softened. I know it's difficult to wait when they're so close, but, I understand, Naruto interrupted. Really, I do. Protect everyone first, personal stuff later. Story of my life. Beast smiled slightly. A burden shared by most who choose the hero's path, I believe. Their conversation was interrupted as the mansion's alert system activated, klaxons blaring throughout the building. Emergency protocol initiated, came the computerized announcement. All X-Men report to the war room immediately. Beast and Naruto exchanged concerned glances before rushing toward the sublevels. They arrived to find chaos, X-Men streaming in while multiple emergency channels broadcast simultaneously on the main screen. Xavier was already there, coordinating responses while Scott issued rapid-fire orders. "What's happening?" Naruto asked as they entered. "Multiple dimensional breaches have suddenly activated simultaneously," Xavier explained grimly. "The Brazil anomaly has expanded exponentially, consuming nearly 30 square kilometers in minutes. Similar accelerations are occurring at other major breach points." "What triggered this?" Beast demanded, immediately moving to a monitoring station. "Unknown," Xavier replied. "But the effect is catastrophic. At current expansion rates, major population centers will be affected within hours." The main screen showed footage from Brazil, a pulsating dome of energy that warped everything it touched, transforming landscape and structures into impossible configurations that didn't follow normal physics. "The Japan breach?" Naruto asked urgently. "Also expanding, but more slowly than the others," Xavier confirmed. "Storm reports they've had to evacuate the immediate area." "What's the plan?" Jean asked as she entered, immediately assessing the situation. Scott turned from the tactical display he'd been studying. "We split into teams, targeting the 5 largest breaches simultaneously. Naruto, you'll need to perform the synchronization technique at each location, starting with Brazil." "That's not physically possible," Beast objected. The energy expenditure from a single synchronization left him significantly depleted. 5 in rapid succession would be lethal, even with his enhanced physiology. "Then what do you suggest?" Scott demanded. "These breaches will consume entire cities within hours." Before Beast could respond, the communications system chimed with an incoming transmission. Xavier activated it, and Hope's face appeared on the screen, the same Hope they had encountered at the UN, but looking considerably different. The technological enhancements were gone, leaving her appearing younger and more vulnerable. "X-Men," she greeted, her voice urgent. "I assume you've detected the breach accelerations." "Hope," Xavier acknowledged. "Do you know what's happening?" "It's begun," she said grimly. "The collapse I warned you about. In my timeline, this was the point of no return, when the multiversal decay became irreversible." "Why now?" Beast asked. "What triggered the sudden acceleration?" "It's not what, but who," Hope replied. "Strife has returned, and he's using technology from my future to deliberately destabilize the dimensional boundaries. He believes if he can accelerate the collapse while controlling key nexus points, he can reshape reality according to his design when it reforms." "Where is he?" Logan demanded. "The Brazil anomaly is his primary base of operations," Hope answered. "He's using it as a fulcrum to affect the others. That's why it's expanding faster than the rest." Naruto stepped forward. "How do you know all this?" Hope's expression turned pained. "Because in my timeline, I helped him do it. Before I understood the consequences. Before I saw what it truly meant to unmake reality." "Can it be stopped?" Xavier asked, focusing on the critical question. "Yes, but not the way you're planning," Hope said. "Naruto can't address each breach individually, there's not enough time, and the strain would kill him. The only solution is to strike at the source. Neutralize Strife and his equipment in Brazil, and the other breaches will stabilize enough to be repaired normally." "Why should we trust you?" Scott asked suspiciously. "Your last attempt to help involved taking hostages." "Because I'm not asking you to trust me," Hope replied. "I'm giving you information you can verify independently. The energy patterns of the breaches will confirm they're being manipulated from a central source." Beast quickly ran an analysis, then nodded to Xavier. "She's right. All the breaches show harmonic resonance with the Brazil anomaly. They're being driven from there. So we hit Brazil," Logan concluded. "Take out Strife, save the multiverse." "Sounds straightforward." "It won't be," Hope warned. "The laws of physics barely function within the anomaly zone. And Strife has gathered followers from multiple realities, beings with powers you've never encountered before. We don't have a choice, Jean said, looking at the expanding threat displays. If Hope is right, Brazil is our only viable target. Xavier nodded decisively. Assemble the team. Blackbird departs in 15 minutes. As the X-Men moved with practiced efficiency to prepare for the mission, Naruto caught Xavier's attention. What about the Japan breach? My friends? Xavier's expression was sympathetic but firm. One crisis at a time, Naruto. If we fail in Brazil, there won't be a Japan breach to return to, or any other reality, for that matter. I know, Naruto agreed reluctantly. It's just. They're waiting for you, Xavier finished gently. And they will continue to wait. Your friends sound like remarkably determined individuals. Have faith in them, as they clearly have faith in you. Naruto nodded, drawing strength from the certainty that Sakura, Kakashi, and the others wouldn't give up. They never had before. Brazil it is, he said with renewed resolve. Let's end this. The Blackbird soared through turbulent skies, approaching the massive energy dome that now encompassed a significant portion of the Brazilian countryside. Even from altitude, the anomaly was visibly disturbing, a translucent bubble within which normal geometry seemed optional, structures and landscape twisting into impossible configurations. Sensors are going haywire, Storm reported from the pilot's seat. Gravitational fluctuations, radiation spikes, temporal distortions, it's a mess down there. Can we even survive inside that thing? Logan asked, peering at the chaotic scene below. According to Hope's data, the environment is survivable near the edges, Beast replied, studying the tactical display. But conditions worsen as you approach the center, where Strife has established his base. The team consisted of Naruto, Jean, Cyclops, Storm, Wolverine, Beast, and Colossus, a heavy-hitting group selected for both power and versatility. Rogue and the Japan team had been recalled but wouldn't arrive in time for the initial assault. I'm still not convinced this is our only option, Scott said, going over the tactical plan one final time. A direct confrontation with Strife in an environment he controls, is exactly what he wants, Jean finished. I know. But Hope's analysis checks out. The breaches are being driven from this location. We neutralize Strife's equipment here, we buy time to address the other anomalies properly. Naruto stood at the viewport, studying the warped landscape below. Inside him, both Kurama and the Phoenix were unusually alert, sensing the dimensional disturbances even before they entered the anomaly zone. This is worse than I expected, Kurama commented in his mind. Reality itself is unraveling down there. Can we fix it? Naruto asked silently. Maybe, the fox replied. But not without eliminating whatever's causing the distortion first. The Phoenix's consciousness stirred as well, its cosmic awareness extending beyond what any of them could perceive. Strife seeks to harness chaos as a weapon. Foolish mortal. Chaos cannot be harnessed, only surfed or drowned by. Approaching drop point, Storm announced. Shields at maximum, but they won't hold long in this environment. Scott activated the central tactical display. Remember the plan. Storm and Jean create a diversion at the southern edge. Beast, Wolverine, and Colossus infiltrate from the east, targeting the power generators Hope identified. Naruto and I approach directly from above, striking at Strife himself. And if we encounter these followers from multiple realities Hope mentioned? Logan asked. Neutralize them as efficiently as possible, Scott replied. But remember, our primary objective is Strife and his equipment. Everything else is secondary. The Blackbird descended to its minimum safe altitude, hovering above the anomaly's outer edge. This is as close as I can get safely, Storm said. The atmospheric disturbances would tear us apart any lower. Then we jump, Scott decided. Everyone sync communications. Stay in constant contact. If anyone gets lost in there, use the emergency beacons. They moved to the boarding ramp, which lowered to reveal the swirling chaos below. The air itself seemed to shimmer with unnatural energies, colors that shouldn't exist painting the landscape in alien hues. "Stay focused on what's real," Jean advised as they prepared to jump. "The anomaly creates perceptual distortions. Trust your teammates more than your own senses." With final nods of acknowledgement, they leapt from the aircraft, Storm using her weather manipulation to guide their descent toward their designated entry points. Naruto created shadow clones that accompanied each group, providing additional support and a means of communication if their tech failed. As they passed through the outer boundary of the anomaly, the world changed around them. Gravity fluctuated wildly, one moment pulling them downward with crushing force, the next almost non-existent. The landscape below shifted constantly, landmarks appearing and disappearing as if reality couldn't decide what should exist. Naruto felt the phoenix stir within him, responding to the chaotic energies. Unlike his previous experiences, where the cosmic entity had to be carefully controlled, here it seemed almost protective, creating a buffer between him and the worst of the dimensional distortions. They landed in what appeared to be a cleared area near the edge of the anomaly zone, though the ground beneath their feet rippled occasionally like water. Distant structures could be seen through the haze, twisted architecture that seemed to incorporate elements from multiple worlds and time periods. "Stay alert," Scott warned as they regrouped briefly before splitting into their assigned teams. "The rules of physics are suggestions at best in here. Nothing will behave quite as expected. My shadow clones will dispel if they encounter serious resistance," Naruto told them. "That'll give us a warning if any area is heavily defended." With final confirmations, the teams separated, moving toward their objectives. Naruto and Scott headed directly toward the center of the anomaly, where scans had indicated the highest concentration of energy, presumably Strife's base of operations. As they advanced, the distortions grew more pronounced. Buildings appeared that hadn't been their seconds before, some recognizably Earth architecture, others completely alien. Twice they had to dodge sudden gravitational wells that formed without warning, threatening to crush them. "This place is like a bad genjutsu," Naruto commented as they navigated the shifting terrain. "Except it's actually changing reality, not just our perception of it." "How are Kurama and the Phoenix handling it?" Scott asked, expertly blasting a path through rubble that materialized in their way. "Surprisingly well," Naruto replied. "The Phoenix almost seems at home in this chaos. And Kurama's seen enough weird stuff in his lifetime that he's taking it in stride." They pressed forward, guided by beast scans which indicated Strife's base should be approximately half a kilometer ahead. Without warning, one of Naruto's shadow clones accompanying Storm and Jean's team dispelled, sending a rush of memories back to him. "They've encountered resistance," he reported to Scott. "Humanoid figures with energy weapons. Not ordinary humans, some kind of enhanced soldiers." Scott touched his communicator. "Storm, status report." "Engaging hostile forces," Storm's voice came back, partially distorted by static. "They appear to be from multiple time periods. Some have technology centuries beyond ours, others wield what looks like magic." "Jean." "I'm fine," Jean replied. "These soldiers have some psychic shielding, but nothing I can't handle. Continue to the objective. We'll keep them occupied." As they pushed forward, a second clone dispelled, this one from Beast's infiltration team. "Logan's group is under heavy attack," Naruto reported. "They've reached one of the power generators, but it's guarded by some kind of robotic sentries." "They'll manage," Scott said confidently. "Logan's practically indestructible, and Colossus isn't far behind." They had almost reached what appeared to be the central structure, a towering edifice that shifted between architectural styles from moment to moment, sometimes resembling a futuristic tower, other times an ancient temple, when the air before them shimmered and Strife himself appeared. Right on schedule, he greeted them, floating several feet above the ground. His armor was more elaborate than before, incorporating elements that pulsed with energy. The heroic charge into the heart of danger. So predictable. Scott didn't waste time on conversation, immediately firing an optic blast at maximum power. Strife deflected it casually with a gesture, the energy dispersing harmlessly around him. "Please," he said with evident boredom. "I've had years to prepare for this encounter. Your tactics are literally historical record to me." Naruto created a dozen shadow clones that attacked from multiple angles, forcing Strife to divide his attention. The distraction allowed Scott to maneuver to a different position, coordinating his attacks with Naruto's clones. "You still don't understand what I'm trying to accomplish," Strife called as he systematically eliminated the clones. "This isn't destruction for its own sake. It's necessary chaos before a new, better order can emerge." "Heard that one before," Naruto replied, forming a Rasengan. "Never works out the way megalomaniacs think it will." He charged forward, the spiraling sphere of chakra aimed directly at Strife's chest. At the last moment, Strife telekinetically grabbed one of Naruto's own clones and pulled it into the path of the attack. The clone dispelled in a puff of smoke as the Rasengan dissipated. "I've studied you, Naruto Uzumaki," Strife said, countering with a blast of psychic energy that Naruto barely avoided. "Your techniques, your strategies, your reliance on that fox demon and the Phoenix Force. I know exactly how to neutralize you." As if to prove his point, Strife activated a device on his armor. A pulse of energy swept outward, and Naruto suddenly found his connection to Kurama muffled, the fox's presence receding from his awareness. "A chakra-dampening field," Strife explained smugly. "Designed specifically to disrupt the unique energy signature you brought from your world. Ingenious, isn't it?" Naruto staggered, feeling as if part of himself had been cut off. He could still sense Kurama, but distantly, unable to draw on the fox's power effectively. Scott seized the momentary advantage, unleashing a precisely targeted optic blast that struck a vulnerable joint in Strife's armor. The villain winced, his smug expression faltering briefly. "You're not the only one who can adapt," Scott told him, adjusting his visor for another shot. Strife's response was immediate and brutal, a telekinetic hammer that slammed Scott into a nearby structure, cracking his visor and leaving him momentarily stunned. "I've planned for every contingency," Strife said, turning his attention back to Naruto. "Including your impressive ability to synchronize the Nine Tails and Phoenix energies. That's why my dampening field targets chakra specifically, leaving the Phoenix vulnerable to other methods." He produced a small device that emitted a high-pitched whine. Instantly, the Phoenix stirred within Naruto, responding violently to whatever signal the device was broadcasting. Unlike the controlled manifestations Naruto had practiced, this was wild and painful, the cosmic entity thrashing against his consciousness like a caged animal. "What have you done?" Naruto gasped, dropping to one knee as fiery wings began to manifest around him against his will. "The same technology Hope used, but refined," Strife explained. "A Phoenix call that triggers its most primal instincts, bypassing the rational control you've established. You're about to experience what Jean Grey feared most, total consumption by the Phoenix Force." Inside Naruto, the Phoenix's consciousness expanded rapidly, threatening to overwhelm his own. But instead of the focused, purposeful entity he'd come to know, this version felt fragmented and frenzied, driven mad by Strife's technology. Pain/rage/freedom/destruction, its thoughts cascaded chaotically. Burn/consume/release/destroy. "Fight it, Naruto!" Scott called, struggling to his feet despite his injuries. "Don't let it take control." Naruto tried, drawing on every technique he'd practiced. With Jean. But without Kurama's stabilizing influence, the Phoenix was too powerful, too primal. Fire erupted around him, forming the unmistakable shape of the cosmic firebird as his consciousness began to recede. Strife watched with satisfaction. "Perfect. Once the Phoenix consumes you completely, I'll use the containment technology I've prepared to harness its power directly. The final piece I need to reshape reality according to my vision." Through the haze of cosmic fire and fading awareness, Naruto saw Scott attempting another attack, only to be casually swatted aside by Strife's telekinesis. The X-Men leader crashed into rubble, unconscious or worse. No, Naruto gasped, fighting for control even as the Phoenix threatened to consume him entirely. Won't let you. You have no choice, Strife replied calmly. The process has already begun. Soon there will be no Naruto Uzumaki, only the Phoenix Force, untethered from human conscience or restraint. As darkness encroached on Naruto's vision, a familiar voice cut through the chaos, not from outside, but from the depths of his mindscape. Kit. I'm still here. Kurama called, his voice faint but determined. The dampening field weakens our connection, but it can't sever it completely. Not after all we've been through. The fox's presence was like a distant light in a storm, difficult to reach but undeniably there. Naruto focused on it, using the connection as an anchor to maintain some semblance of self as the phoenix raged around him. Kurama, he managed, his voice distorted by the phoenix's influence. Can't reach you. Then I'll reach you, the fox replied. Remember what makes you Naruto Uzumaki. Not the chakra, not the phoenix. Your will. Your heart. The bonds you've formed. Images flashed through Naruto's mind, Iruka acknowledging him for the first time, Team 7's formation, his promise to Sakura, battles alongside friends who believed in him. Then newer memories, training with the X-Men, Jean's patient guidance, Logan's gruff respect. Rogue's face, her smile when they touched without consequences. My precious people, Naruto whispered, finding strength in the memories. Won't let them down. The phoenix fire still burned around him, but its chaotic expansion slowed as Naruto clung to his sense of self. It wasn't control, not yet, but it was resistance, enough to prevent complete consumption. Strife frowned, adjusting his device. Interesting. Your willpower exceeds projections. No matter, I'll simply increase the intensity. The whine from the device grew louder, and the phoenix responded with renewed frenzy. Naruto cried out as cosmic awareness threatened to drown his human perspective once again. At that moment, a new presence entered the chaotic battlefield, a figure moving with impossible speed through the shifting terrain. It was Rogue, somehow returned from the Japan mission ahead of schedule. Naruto, she called, assessing the situation instantly. Strife turned in surprise. You're not supposed to be here. The temporal calculations were precise. Sorry to mess up your schedule, Rogue replied, her southern drawl accentuated by anger. But I tend to do that when my friends are in danger. She moved with astonishing agility, dodging Strife's hastily deployed telekinetic blasts as she closed the distance to Naruto. The phoenix fire surrounding him should have deterred anyone from approaching, but Rogue didn't hesitate. I'm here, she said, reaching through the flames to place her bare hand against his face. Come back to us. Come back to me. Her touch was like cold water on burning skin, immediate relief. The unique immunity she had to his powers created a connection that even the phoenix couldn't overwhelm. Through that connection, Naruto felt Kurama's presence strengthen, as if Rogue's touch somehow bypassed Strife's dampening field. Now, Kit. Kurama urged. Use her connection to anchor yourself. Take back control. With Rogue's touch stabilizing him and Kurama's presence strengthening, Naruto found the leverage he needed. Instead of fighting the phoenix directly, he embraced it, accepted its cosmic perspective while asserting his human identity alongside it. I see you, he told the phoenix within. I feel your pain, your rage at being manipulated. But this isn't your true nature. Remember who you are, creation as well as destruction, life as well as death. The phoenix's chaotic thoughts began to organize, resonating with his words. The frenzied fire cooled, not diminishing in power but changing in quality, from wild destruction to focused purpose. Manipulation/violation/corruption, the phoenix recognized, its awareness clarifying. False call/false purpose/false future. Yes, Naruto agreed. Strife is using you, just like he's using the multiversal breaches. He doesn't understand what you truly are. Strife, realizing he was losing control of the situation, increased the power to his device frantically. No. The Phoenix will submit. The calculations were perfect. That's your problem, Rogue called to him, maintaining her grounding touch on Naruto. You think everything can be calculated and controlled. But some things can't be, like human hearts or cosmic forces. The Phoenix fire around Naruto changed color, shifting from angry orange-red to a more purified gold. He stood straighter, no longer fighting for control but partnering with the cosmic entity. Your device doesn't work anymore, he told Strife, his voice resonant but his own. The Phoenix isn't responding to your call. It's listening to mine. Fury contorted Strife's features. Impossible. The frequency is specifically calibrated to override conscious control. But not partnership, Naruto replied. Not mutual respect between host and entity. Something you wouldn't understand. Inside him, Naruto felt something remarkable happening. Despite the dampening field, Kurama's presence was growing stronger, flowing through the connection Rogue had somehow stabilized. And the Phoenix, now freed from Strife's manipulative signal, was aligning with the Fox's energy rather than opposing it. Ready to show this time-traveling punk what real power looks like. Kurama growled, his enthusiasm infectious. Absolutely, Naruto replied with a grin. He looked at Rogue, who still maintained contact with him. I need both hands free. Will you be okay if you let go? Do what you need to do, she assured him, squeezing his hand once before releasing it. I'm not going anywhere. Naruto nodded gratefully, then turned to face Strife with renewed determination. The villain was already backing away, recognizing that the situation had shifted dramatically against him. This changes nothing, Strife insisted, though uncertainty had crept into his voice. The multiversal collapse has already begun. My equipment throughout the anomaly zone ensures it will continue regardless of what happens here. Then we'll just have to shut it all down, Naruto replied. He closed his eyes briefly, reaching for the synchronization he had practiced so carefully. Despite the dampening field, Kurama's chakra responded, flowing through pathways that seemed to have been strengthened rather than weakened by Naruto's ordeal. The Phoenix added its energy willingly, the two forces intertwining in the now familiar double helix pattern, creating the purple power that represented perfect harmony between them. Naruto opened his eyes, which now glowed with the combined energies. You tried to use chaos as a weapon, Strife. But chaos is just another word for possibility. And I specialize in making the impossible possible. He extended his hands, and the purple energy surged forward, surrounding Strife in a containment field similar to the one Naruto had used in their first encounter. But this version was more sophisticated, precisely targeting the technology integrated into Strife's armor. No! Strife cried as his devices began to short out, overwhelmed by the harmonized energies. Do you have any idea what you're doing? Without controlled collapse, the multiversal boundaries will rupture completely. Actually, came Beast's voice as he arrived with Wolverine and Colossus, our calculations suggest exactly the opposite. Your equipment was accelerating the breaches, not controlling them. The blue-furred scientist held up a small device. We've neutralized the power generators as planned. With your central control systems disabled as well, the anomaly should begin to stabilize. As if to confirm his words, the chaotic shifting of the landscape around them began to slow, structures settling into more consistent forms. The gravity fluctuations decreased, and the alien colors in the atmosphere faded toward normal spectrum. Jean and Storm arrived next, supporting an injured but conscious Scott between them. The perimeter forces have been neutralized, Jean reported. Most weren't even willing combatants, just confused people Strife had pulled from various realities and timelines. Strife struggled against the containment field, his expression contorted with rage and disbelief. This isn't how it was supposed to happen. I've seen the future, my victory was assured. You saw a possible future, Xavier's voice came through their communicators, somehow cutting through the interference. One of many. The timeline is not fixed, Strife. It never was. The anomaly is collapsing in on itself, Beast observed, checking his instruments. But in a controlled fashion. The dimensional boundaries are reasserting themselves. What about the other breaches? Scott asked, wincing as he straightened up. Are they stabilizing as well? Preliminary data suggests yes, Xavier confirmed through the comm, their expansion has halted. With Strife's technology neutralized, they should be manageable using conventional methods. Naruto maintained the containment field around Strife, who had ceased struggling and now watched with bitter resignation as his plans literally collapsed around him. What do we do with him? Naruto asked. The raft has containment facilities designed for chronally displaced individuals, Scott replied. We'll let the proper authorities handle him. As the immediate crisis passed, Naruto finally turned to Rogue, who had remained nearby throughout the confrontation. You came back, he said simply. How? Storm's weather manipulation, she explained with a small smile. Created a jet stream that got us back in record time. Good thing, too. Yeah, Naruto agreed fervently. Without you, I might have lost myself completely. Your touch, it grounded me when nothing else could. Something unspoken passed between them, a recognition of the bond that had formed, deeper than friendship, more profound than mere attraction. Speaking of the Japan breach, Naruto continued, turning to Beast. Now that we've neutralized Strife, what about my friends? The doorway they were trying to create? Beast consulted his instruments. Fascinating. While the other breaches are closing, the Japan anomaly appears to have stabilized independently. It's maintaining a consistent energy signature that matches your home world's frequency. They did it, Naruto realized, hope surging through him. They actually created a stable connection. It appears so, Beast confirmed. And with the multiversal crisis averted, there's no reason we can't investigate it properly. Perhaps even establish permanent communication, or a way for me to go home, Naruto finished quietly. The words hung in the air, carrying both possibility and consequence. Going home had been his goal from the beginning, but now the prospect filled him with conflicting emotions. He looked around at the X-Men, people who had become friends, allies, family in such a short time. His gaze lingered on Rogue, who met his eyes with understanding and something deeper. Let's finish securing the anomaly zone first, Scott suggested, breaking the moment. Then we can discuss next steps. Naruto nodded, grateful for the reprieve from making immediate decisions. Right. One crisis at a time. 3 days later, Naruto stood atop the mansion's roof, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant orange and gold. The multiversal crisis had been resolved, Strife imprisoned, the dimensional breaches sealed, reality settling back into its proper configuration. All except one. The Japan breach remained stable, maintained by the efforts of Naruto's friends on the other side. Beast's instruments confirmed it was a direct connection to Konoha, anchored by the unique resonance between Naruto's chakra signature and the sealing techniques his friends had developed specifically to find him. A doorway home, just as he had hoped for since arriving in this strange world. So why did the prospect fill him with such conflict? He heard soft footsteps behind him and turned to find Rogue approaching, her white-streaked hair glowing in the sunset light. Penny for your thoughts, she said, joining him at the roof's edge. Not sure they're worth that much, Naruto replied with a small smile. Just thinking about tomorrow. Tomorrow was when they would travel to Japan, to the stable breach. Beast had confirmed it was safe to approach now, possibly even to attempt communication or passage. Having second thoughts? Rogue asked perceptively. Naruto sighed. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who knows you pretty well by now, she replied, her shoulder brushing against his as she settled beside him. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching as the first stars appeared in the darkening sky. When I first came here, Naruto finally said, all I wanted was to find a way back. Konoha was home, the only home I'd ever known. My precious people were there. My dreams, my future, everything. And now? Rogue prompted gently when he paused. Now I've found precious people here too, he admitted, glancing at her. Found a place where I belong, where I can make a difference. The thought of leaving hurts, she finished for him. I understand. More than you might think. Naruto turned to face her fully. I don't want to leave you, he said, the simple truth finally spoken aloud. But I can't abandon my friends in Konoha either. They've been searching for me, working to bring me home. How can I turn my back on that? Rogue reached out, her bare fingers intertwining with his, a gesture that still held wonder for both of them. Maybe you don't have to choose, she suggested. Beast has been working on something. He asked me not to mention it until he was sure it was viable, but... What? Naruto asked, hope flaring despite himself. The breach your friends created, it's stable because it's specifically attuned to you. To your unique energy signature. Beast thinks that with proper refinement, it could be maintained indefinitely as a permanent doorway between worlds. Naruto's eyes widened. A doorway I could use whenever I wanted. Go back and forth. That's the theory, Rogue confirmed. It would require regular maintenance from both sides, your friends continuing their sealing techniques, Beast monitoring from ours. But yes, essentially a bridge between worlds. The possibility was almost too perfect to believe. I could visit Konoha, see everyone, fulfill my responsibilities there, but still return here. Still be with the X-Men. With you. If that's what you want, Rogue said, a vulnerability in her voice he rarely heard. Naruto reached up, gently brushing a strand of white hair from her face. It's everything I want. But I'm afraid to hope for it. Things rarely work out so perfectly. We won't know until we try, she pointed out. And if anyone can make the impossible happen, it's you. I've seen it firsthand. Naruto smiled, heart lightening at her faith in him. Tomorrow then. We go to Japan, to the breach. And we find out if this crazy idea can actually work. Tomorrow, Rogue agreed. Then, with determined courage in her eyes, she leaned forward. But tonight. Their lips met in a kiss that had been building since their first training session, gentle at first, then deeper as they both realized what they'd been missing. For Rogue, it was the first real kiss she'd experienced since her powers manifested. For Naruto, it was a confirmation of feelings that had grown steadily despite the chaotic circumstances of their meeting. When they finally separated, both slightly breathless, Naruto rested his forehead against hers. Worth the wait, he murmured. Definitely, Rogue agreed with a smile. Though I'm still annoyed it took an apocalyptic multiversal crisis for us to finally get here. Naruto laughed. Hey, at least we weren't interrupted this time. As if on cue, Jean's telepathic voice touched their minds. Sorry to intrude, she sent with genuine apology. But Xavier has called a final meeting before tomorrow's mission. Your presence is requested in his study. Rogue groaned. You had to jinx it, didn't you? To be continued, Naruto promised, stealing one more quick kiss before helping her to her feet. Hand in hand, they made their way down from the roof, toward whatever the future held, a future that suddenly seemed filled with possibilities rather than painful choices. Xavier's study was crowded with X-Men when they arrived. Jean and Scott stood near the professor's desk, while Beast operated a holographic display showing the Japan breach. Storm, Logan, and several others were gathered around, examining the data. Ah, Naruto, Rogue. Thank you for joining us, Xavier greeted them. If he noticed their clasped hands or slightly flushed faces, he gave no indication. We were just reviewing the final preparations for tomorrow's expedition. Beast was explaining his theory about maintaining the breach as a permanent doorway, Jean added with a knowing smile. A theory with considerable merit, Beast confirmed. The energy signature is remarkably stable, anchored by matching techniques on both sides. With proper maintenance, there's no reason it couldn't function indefinitely. So it's really possible? Naruto asked, hardly daring to believe. I could travel between worlds. The physics support it, Beast replied. And the test probes we've sent through have transmitted back successfully. The connection is solid. Xavier folded his hands thoughtfully. Of course, this would present a rather unique arrangement. You would essentially be a citizen of two worlds, with responsibilities to both. I'm used to juggling responsibilities, Naruto said with a smile. And having a foot in two worlds isn't new to me either. I've been balancing human and Jinchuriki aspects my whole life. There are practical considerations as well, Scott pointed out. Scheduling, coordination between teams, communication protocols when you're on the other side. All manageable, Xavier assured him. If this is truly what Naruto wants. All eyes turned to Naruto, waiting for his decision. He looked around at the gathered X-Men, people who had taken him in as one of their own despite his something went wrong with this response. Please try again. Ch3 The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.